The cold wind at the boarding gate snuck in through the glass seams, and Xinyao pressed her passport beside the coffee cup, while her fingertips still swiped on the phone screen. The screen was blindingly bright, and in the chat box was only a line she had just sent. "Don't worry. I'll be there soon." I watched that line, and the ring box in my hand was slightly deformed from being squeezed. The corner of the box pressed against my palm, as if reminding me that this isn't a dream, nor a plot in a city romance drama that you can fast forward through. "Cheng Yan." Xinyao finally looked up, her eyes red, but her tone steadier than an airport PA announcement. "Something happened over at Wenzhou's side. I have to go to London." I nodded and pushed the coffee toward her. "If something happens to him, you go. Then what about me?" She paused, as if surprised I would ask so directly. I used to not be like this. I was good at giving her an exit, good at folding my own grievances into little paper airplanes and sending them to the trash, promoting an eco-friendly image. Xinyao pursed her lips. "Don't be like that. Wenzhou is abroad and no one takes care of him. He's really having a hard time now." "Mine is too," I said, placing the ring box on the table. The lid wasn't opened, and the black velvet looked a little ridiculous under the white light. "My mom is having surgery today. My dad is downstairs waiting for me to sign. I told you about it half an hour ago." Shinyao's fingers contracted slightly. Of course she heard it, but she didn't take it to heart. We've been together for 7 years. She knows I'm not one to say harsh things. And she's aware of my knack for self-comforting. For instance, when she forgot me on her birthday, I said it's actually cool for adults not to celebrate their birthdays. When she picked up Lin Wenzhou in the middle of the night, I remarked that it's perfectly normal for old classmates to help each other. And whenever she kept putting me at the back of the line, I told her queuing is a true Chinese virtue. But with prolonged practice of virtue, one will develop a strong sense of independence. Yanyao turned her phone face down on the table and said, "Auntie over there has an uncle, right? I can't help there. But things are different with Wenzhou. He just had a fallout with the project team. His visa is a problem. He's completely fallen apart." I stared at the silver cufflink on her sleeve. That was the birthday gift I gave her last year. She thought it was too plain, so she'd kept it tucked away in a drawer for half a year. On the day Lin Wenzhou returned to the country, she suddenly wore it clean and sharp. Whether something can be liked or not depends not on the thing itself, but on who stands beside it. "Xinyao." I smiled a little. "Do you know what I originally planned to do today?" She looked at the ring box, her face whitening in an instant. The airport announcements began to urge boarding. A female voice as gentle as persuading someone not to make a scene. Shinyao's breath caught. "Cheng Yan. Not today. When I come back, we'll talk about it properly. You always say you'll come back to talk." I tucked the ring box back into my pocket. "But when you do come back, you always carry someone else's scent on you." Tears glimmered in her eyes as she lowered her voice. "Do you have to pressure me at a time like this?" A child dragging a wheeled suitcase glanced at us, then was led away by their mother. In an airport, there's no shortage of goodbyes. Everyone is busy, and no one has time to make others feel awkward. I moved the coffee cup aside, leaving a pale ring of water marks on the tabletop. "I won't pressure you," I said. "You go yours. I'll go to my hospital." Shinyao's eyelashes trembled. "Then what about us?" She asked this question too late. In 7 years, she could sneak out after Lin Wenzhou's one line, "I have a stomachache," in the middle of the night. She could take his call in the corridor at my father's birthday banquet for half an hour. She could place medicine in the takeout cabinet when I was working overtime and feverish, so that I would have to go downstairs to get it myself. She always feels that we are still around. Whether a person is around or not is not something that status can uphold. I stood up, zipped up my coat. "Xinyao, waiting for someone isn't about standing in place and letting the wind blow. If I wait long enough, I'll get cold too." She froze, as if hearing me speak plainly for the first time. The broadcast rang out again, urging passengers bound for London to board quickly. Shinyao's phone kept buzzing, and Lin Wenzhou's name popped up on the screen. She looked down, and her gaze instantly became tangled. The answer had actually landed already. It wasn't broken. It was just something I stubbornly refused to pick up and read. Xinyao grabbed her passport and bag, turning back before leaving. "Cheng Yan, wait for me to come back. I watch her. 7 years ago, she was late for the first time and asked me to wait. That day I stood by the south gate of the university. holding 2 cups of milk tea, waiting from hot to cold, until finally she appeared with Lin Wonjo, saying she ran into an old friend on the way and talked a few more words. I laughed then, generously, like a fresh, unlucky newcomer just entering the workforce, promised a future by my boss but carrying my own chopsticks. This time, I did not laugh. No, I said, I still have someone else to pick up. Shen Yao's foot, which had stepped forward, paused mid-step. And in the end he entered the boarding corridor. The glass door closed, and her silhouette was swallowed by the light. I stood there for about 10 seconds. Then my phone rang from the hospital side. My father's voice was hoarse. Xiao Yan, where have you gone? The doctor said you can go in. And your mom just asked if you've eaten. I tossed the ring box into the deepest pocket of my coat and turned to walk outside. It was raining outside the airport, and taxis lined up like a slow-moving snake. My shoes sank into a puddle, splashing mud up to half my pants. The phone buzzed again. It's not Xinyao. It's Su Zhaoxi. She sent a photo of a hospital corridor. In the photo, my dad sits on a bench, gripping a bag of steamed buns, with an empty spot beside him. Her message is brief. Aunt went in. Uncle hasn't eaten. I'm here. I stare at those 3 characters, and the hollow in my chest, scraped open by the cold wind, suddenly gains an edge. I reply to her, thanks. I'll be there soon. Su Zhaoxi replied quickly, don't worry. It's raining. You go to the door. I'll hold an umbrella for you. I tightened my grip on my phone, and the taxi driver rolled down the window and asked where I wanted to go. City First Hospital. The door closed, and the airport lights were left behind. Rain streaks beat against the car window, like a page of old, crumpled days. I did not look back. The hospital's early morning lights always have a kind of ruthless whiteness that makes faces look more honest than the reports. When I arrived at the surgery building, Su Zhaoxi stood at the door, holding a deep blue umbrella. She wore a beige knit sweater, the cuffs damp from the rain, the other hand carrying a thermal bag, her hair pressed a little by the moisture. Cheng Yan. Su Zhaoxi saw me, stepped forward 2 steps, then paused. The umbrella is for you. I just circled around from that side of the carport. I took the umbrella, not opening it, just watching her rain-dampened shoulders. She frowned. That expression of yours is scary. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to perform as the snail girl. I came nearby tonight to accompany a client through a proposal, and when I got Uncle's call I came over. I laughed softly, my throat a bit hoarse. How could my dad call you? Su Zhaoxi stuffed the insulated bag into my hand. He called Xinyao. No one picked up. Then flipped through the contact list and saw the number I left when we photoshopped Auntie at your family dinner last time. Uncle's voice was shaking, and I came as soon as I heard. I looked down at the bag. Inside were hot steamed buns and a cup of soy milk. You don't have to go to so much trouble. Your mother usually stuffs me with fruit when she sees me. I'm doing you a favor bringing 2 buns. And that's enough to settle the account. She raised a hand and pointed down the hall. Go in first. Uncle has been watching the elevator just now. I told him you would come, and only then did he sit down. My throat tightened. People aren't sometimes knocked down by great events, but held up by a phrase like you'll definitely come. My dad sat outside the operating room, his back hunching, the bag of steamed buns in his hand still unopened. When he saw me, his lips moved first, asking, where is Xinyao? Su Zhaoxi stood beside him, not interjecting, only handing over the soy milk with a straw. I sat down beside my dad. She went abroad. My dad was stunned for quite a while, then slowly nodded. Oh, are you busy with work? I didn't explain. Some decent chairs like those in hospital corridors hard, a bit stiff, but still usable for sitting. Su Zhaoxi split open the steamed bun, steam rising. Uncle, take a bite first. If Auntie comes out and sees you with hypoglycemia, she'll definitely scold you first, and the surgery will be half wasted. My dad was amused by her and let out a cough, taking the bun from her. Xiao Su, your mouth is just like your mom when she was young. Su Zhaoxi laughed. That means I inherited it without derailment. That's when I remembered. Su Zhaoxi's mother and my mom were old colleagues. The 2 families used to live in the same housing complex when we were kids. Later her family moved away. We kept in touch less, only sending a group message of on holidays. She is 2 years younger than me, used to follow me around as a child, holding a jump rope. insisting that I play with her. I found her annoying, and she would stand downstairs shouting Cheng Yen Gij brother Cheng Yen, shouting until the whole building knew I stopped doing my homework after school. My mom often said, "This child of Shi Shao has a bright heart." Back then I didn't understand the phrase. Years later, in the hospital corridor, I suddenly understood. A person with a bright heart isn't necessarily lively. She simply turns on the light when others are in a mess. The operating room lights were on, and time stuck to the sole of my shoe like chewing gum. No matter how hard I tried to shake it off. My dad had eaten half a bun, feeling a bit steadier, and then asked me, "Xiao Yan, have you bought the ring yet?" My fingers stiffened. Su Zhaoxi was bowing his head to tidy the insulated bag. The movement paused for a moment. Then, as if hearing nothing, he continued tidying. My dad sighed. "Your mom told me a couple of days ago that Xinyaoying, this girl, isn't mean at heart, just distant. You say young people have their own pace, and we can't manage them well." I didn't say a word. When I was young I always thought loving someone meant being tolerant, understanding, and giving her freedom. Later I realized that love is not about letting go of the kite. If you hand out the string and the other person only looks at the sky, with empty hands they won't turn back. It's 3 in the morning. The operation is over. The doctor comes out from behind the mask, saying the surgery went smoothly and to observe afterward. When those 4 words dropped, my dad's shoulders slackened and he almost lost his balance. Su Zhaoxi, quick on his feet, steadies him. "Uncle, slow down." I followed the nurse to sign, and when the pen tip touched the paper, my hand was still trembling. After signing, I turned back, and Su Zhaoxi had already helped my dad to the chair, holding a wet wipe to wipe palms for him. She does these things so naturally. Without any sense of grabbing a position, I suddenly remembered the first time Xinyao came to my house. My mom peeled an apple and handed it to her, and she smiled, saying she's watching her sugar and not eating it lately. Later, for Lin Wenzhou's birthday, she personally made a 6-inch cake, the icing sprinkled like London's first snow. People aren't afraid of comparisons. They're afraid that after comparing, they'll make excuses for others. Early in the morning, a little after 5, we settled into the ward. My mom hadn't fully woken from the anesthesia. The first thing she asked when she woke up was, "Xiao Yan, has Xinyao come yet?" There was a moment of silence in the ward. I held her hand and said, "She has something to deal with." My mom's eyes moved, but she didn't ask. Su Zhaoxi stood by the window, pulling the curtain open a crack. The sky was grayish-white, the rain had stopped, and the lamp trees below the window soaked the leaves shiny with wetness. "Auntie." She turned back, her voice soft. "The doctor said today you can't drink too much water. Your mouth is dry. I'll dip a cotton swab for you." My mom saw her, as if she recognized her at once. "Zhaoxi." Su Zhaoxi laughed. "It's me, the one who stole your loquat when I was little." My mom strained to pull a smile. "You still remember? Remember, you didn't scold me at the time. And you even packed a bag for me, saying it's better to take instead of stealing." The ward finally had a little life in it. I stand at the foot of the bed, and the ring box in my pocket weighs a ton. That thing feels like a stone I never threw, pressing down on all my silly plans. Su Zhaoxi came over and set a glass of warm water beside me. "Go wash your face. The mustache is starting to show. Aren't you working today?" "Of course I am." She glanced at the clock. "The proposal is at 9:30. I'll leave at 7. I frowned. "So you're going to waste another night here?" She tucked the scattered strands of hair behind her ear. "Didn't you also waste 7 years? Wasting a night isn't a loss." I looked up at her, as if she had let something slip. She turned around and straightened the coat on the back of the chair. "I mean, you look smart, but you're actually very patient. Your porridge sticks to the pot just like you." I let out a soft little laugh. After the laugh, I felt a sourness in my chest. Outside, dawn broke. The hospital PA began calling numbers, and the world started turning again. Xinyao had no news. As if that plane that carried her away had also taken away the 7 years of echoes we shared, and Su Zhaoxi set the umbrella by the door. Its tip still dripping. She didn't say to wait for me, nor did she say she would stay, but she really was there. On the 5th day of my mom's hospitalization, Xinyao's moments updated. In the photo, it's snow on a London street. Lin Wenzhou stands under a streetlight, wrapped in the gray scarf she once said was too childish. Xinyao doesn't show her full face. Only half a hand holding a hot cocoa. With the caption, "Finally, the first snow of this year." I sat on the bench outside the ward, looking at that line of text. And suddenly I really wanted to give her a thumbs up. Not a blessing, but to let her know it rains at home too. The hospital ward at the First People's Hospital leaks wind. The hot water room button is broken. My dad carries a cup every day as if preparing for an Olympic shooting qualifier. But I held back. The last dignity of an adult is probably not to pick up a bunch of mess and parade it at someone else's door. Su Zhaoxi returned from the nurse station, holding a payment slip in her hand. The doctor said Auntie's recovery is good. She can get out of bed to walk 2 steps tomorrow. Your dad just asked if she can eat braised pork. I said she could. But she should dream about it for now. I pressed the power button on my phone to turn it off. Thank you for your hard work. She sat down next to me. You've said this 800 times in the past few days. One more time. I'm charging a service fee. Name your price. Still owe you. She handed me the list. But your complexion isn't very good either. Did you sleep on a chair last night? I grunted in acknowledgement. She looked at me. There wasn't much pity in her eyes. Only a kind of blunt realism you can't look away from. Cheng Yan. If it hurts, it hurts. Don't pretend nothing's wrong. You're not a rice cooker. You can't keep the warmth button pressed all night. I was choked by her metaphor. Do you talk like this in your proposals too? Not afraid of customers, but afraid of you. She paused. After all, you owe me 3 popsicles from childhood. I remembered it. That summer, I took her to the corner shop and lied that the green-wrapped ice cream was mint. Only to taste bitter melon. She took a bite and cried half a street away. I was so scared that I repaid her with my own ice cream. She kept accounts, saying she would collect interest when she grew up. I smiled. Okay, how do you calculate the interest? She pointed to my phone. Delete what should be deleted first. I lowered my head. Shenyao's moments were still paused on the screen. Su Zhaoxi didn't look at the content, only at her avatar. She quickly shifted her gaze away. Like slipping past someone else's door that wasn't fully closed. I'm not qualified to manage you, she said, but if you always treat yourself as a spare battery, someone will eventually use you to charge others. This sentence isn't harsh. Yet it's precise. My finger hovered over the screen, unmoving for a long time. Shenyao's note to me was still Yao Yao. She disliked me calling her by her full name, saying it was too formal. Yet she always called Lin Wenzhou by his full name, and the tone was soft as melted sugar. It turns out intimacy isn't in the way you address me. I opened the settings, unpinned, and turned off message reminders. When my fingertips hovered over the delete friend option, they paused. Su Zhaoxi saw my actions, didn't urge me, and only folded the payment receipt and pressed it under the water cup. Even if you can't delete it, it's normal, she said. 7 years isn't 7 delivery receipts. Throwing them into the trash is enough. Don't deceive yourself into thinking you're a saint yet. I look up at her. Why are you so good at persuading people? She raises an eyebrow. Because I've persuaded myself. In the corridor, a nurse pushes a cart by, making a crisp clink. She lowers her eyes, her fingers picking at the edge of a paper cup. I liked someone in college as well, Su Zhaoxi says. He liked my roommate. I was a confidant for 2 years. And in the end the confidant in me almost swallowed me whole. I was stunned. She spoke lightly, but there was a fleeting darkness in her eyes. And then I understood. She smiled. A person can't be a garbage can for a long time, no matter how pretty the garbage can is. It's still a garbage can. I couldn't hold back my laughter, and the suffocating lump in my chest was pried open a crack by her. The ward door opened, and my dad stuck his head out. Xiao Yan, your mom woke up and wants to see Xiao Su. Su Zhaoxi stood up. I'm coming. My dad glanced at me, then at her, his eyes complex as if calculating a big debt. After a few seconds, he whispered, Xiao Su is a good girl. I pretend I didn't understand. Eager to help. My dad clicked his tongue. Your mom used to say I was eager to help when she was young, and I ended up being eager enough to marry her. Dad, I'm just talking casually. My dad walked into the ward with his hands behind his back, unable to keep the corners of his mouth from lifting. When you're old, your mouth moves faster than your brain. In the ward, my mom held Su Zhaoxi's hand and asked if she was busy with work, whether she had eaten. And how the family was doing. Su Zhaoxi answered each question calmly and evenly. I leaned against the doorway and watched. Suddenly remembering that every time Xinyao came to the ward she would ask, "Aunt and uncle, do you think I come empty-handed is inappropriate?" She cares about politeness, but not so much about people. That evening, Xinyao finally called me. I walked to the stairwell and pick up. Her side is very quiet, like a hotel room. Her first sentence isn't about my mom, but asks, "Why don't you reply to my messages?" I took a glance at the call interface. In these 5 days, she sent me 3 messages. Article 1. Arrived in London. Article 2. The boat's condition isn't good. I might come back later. Article 3. Don't overthink it. I said. The hospital signal is poor. She was silent for a moment. Auntie, how is she? The surgery went smoothly. That's good. She breathed a sigh of relief. A sense of things finally being resolved in her tone. Cheng Yan. I know you were angry that day, but we really can't do without people here at Wenzhou. Can you stop having a cold war with me? I gripped the railing, the metal cold to the bone. Xinyao. My mom couldn't do without someone that day either. There was a quiet moment on the other end of the line for 2 seconds. Her voice softened. I know, but you have uncles. You can handle it yourself. Wenzhou is different. Abroad. There really is only me. I suddenly didn't want to argue anymore. Because it's not that she didn't understand. She just gave the words only me to someone else. Xinyao. I said. I'm not having a cold war. I'm just tired. She seemed stabbed by these words. What do you mean? The window in the stairwell wasn't closed tightly. The wind sneaked in, blowing the fire door to softly creak. I watched the sky outside grow dim. Meaning, you should take care of him first. What about you? I also have someone to take care of. There was a pause on the other end of the line. I didn't explain. I just hung up. When I returned to the ward, Su Zhaoxi was reading rehabilitation precautions to my mom. She read solemnly, and when she got to keep a pleasant mood. My mom pointed at me and said, "Then talk to him more. He's as bored as an elevator stuck on the B1 floor." Su Zhaoxi glanced at me. Auntie, this repair is quite difficult. My mom smiled. I laughed along too. The ring box in my pocket is still there. But it's not as heavy as before. The day my mom was discharged, the sunlight was so bright that even the flower stalls at the hospital entrance looked less perfunctory. Su Zhaoxi came to pick me up in a car, with a mat and a thin blanket in the trunk. She explained that her mother, hearing that aunt had been discharged, insisted she bring them, and she also tucked in 2 bags of apples. My mom sat in the back seat, touching the blanket and smiling. Your mom is still the same. Our home looks like a wholesale market. She handed me the seatbelt. She says this is called planning for a rainy day. When I was a child on a school trip, she could pack me 3 pairs of socks. Afraid I would happily wander off with my feet. My dad laughed beside me. This kid's mouth really is sharp. I sat in the front passenger seat, listening to them chat, hands on my knees, and suddenly felt a bit uncomfortable with this sense of smoothness. The car reached the community gate, and Shinyao's call came in. I glanced at it and didn't answer. She sent another WeChat message. I'm returning to the country next week. Let's meet. 2 minutes later, she added, Wenzhou also wants to apologize to you. He said he's troubling you this time. I stared at the 4 characters sorry to trouble you and almost burst out laughing. Lin Wenzhou's way of troubling me is very upscale. When he hasn't appeared, he can make my girlfriend fly across the Eurasian continent. If I had this ability before, I would have applied for intangible cultural heritage by now. Su Zhaoxi parked the car, tilted his head to look at me. What's wrong? Nothing. She didn't press for answers, only pulled the key out. Uncle and aunt just got discharged from the hospital. Don't bring your bad mood upstairs. The stairs will hear and tattletale. I couldn't help laughing. You've even bought off the stairs. In old residential communities. In a society built on relationships. Everything has ears. I put my phone back in my pocket and got off the car after her. After settling my mom, Su Zhaoxi was left to eat by my parents. She declined twice, but to no avail. My dad cooked personally, making tomato beef brisket. The brisket wasn't tender, but he was as confident as a Michelin star wandering into a residential building. At the dining table, my mom suddenly asked, Zhaoxi, do you have a boyfriend? I almost choked on the soup. Su Zhaoxi, however, Remained steady. Picked up a piece of potato. No. Busy with work. And I'm not very discerning. Afraid I'll ruin myself. My mom looked at me and said, "If you have poor taste, you can take your time to adjust it." My dad cleared his throat, bowed his head to eat, but his ears were pricked up very obviously. Su Zhaoxi smiled and changed the subject. "Auntie, you should take care of your health first. I'm not in a hurry about my judgment. After all, bad taste doesn't become bad overnight." She neither dodged nor flattered. Like a gentle breeze that blew away the awkwardness. When she left in the evening, I walked her downstairs. One streetlight in the old neighborhood was out, its beam broken into several pieces. She walked ahead, steps light, holding a half bag of brisket that my mom had stubbornly pressed into her hands. "Thank you for today," I said. She turned back. "If you say thank you again, I'll really take the money." Then say something else. I thought for a moment. "I'll invite you to dinner another day." As she stopped by the car, hand resting on the car door. "Chengyans, you inviting me to dinner now? Is it to thank me, or to find a new outlet for your emotions?" This question was blunt. I froze for a moment. She looked at me with clear eyes. "I can eat with you, or I can keep helping Auntie, but I don't want to be anyone's painkiller. Too many painkillers upset my stomach." The wind blew from the hallway, carrying the scent of laundry detergent and cooking oil. She didn't get angry. She was just laying the boundaries out in front of me. I suddenly realized I had lived these years a bit muddled. Shenyao likes ambiguity. Likes to keep all relationships in a gray area. She says friends don't need to tally every little thing. Lovers should trust. Lin Wenzhou is in the past, yet exists like family, afraid of seeming petty. I swallowed it down again and again. People who are truly sober will speak clearly. "You're right," I whispered. "I'm not suitable to invite you right now." Su Zhaoxi nodded. "Then we'll owe it for now. When you're not trying to forget someone, but simply want to see me, you can invite again." She opened the car door, glanced at me again before getting in. "But I've kept the braised beef. Auntie cooked it not mushy, but the intention is tough." The car lights turned on, illuminating her profile. She waved, and the car slowly drove away. I stood in place, and my phone vibrated in my pocket again. Shenyao sent a group photo. In the photo, she and Lin Wenzhou stood by the Thames. Lin Wenzhou looked pale, yet he smiled with ease. The gray scarf on his neck fluttered in the wind, and Shenyao's hand rested in the crook of his arm. An unconscious gesture. The caption wasn't posted on Moments. It was sent only to me. "He's in much better shape now. See, I didn't come for nothing." I looked at that photo, my finger hovering above the screen. Before, I would have said "that's good," with a calm emoji. Now I only replied with one word. Shenyao called me very quickly. I didn't answer. The next evening, at a university alumni gathering, held at a newly opened fusion restaurant in the south of the city. I originally didn't want to go, but in the group chat, the former class monitor sent 3 voice messages in a row, saying that after years without meeting, whoever didn't come should treat next time. When my mother heard, she threw my coat to me directly. "Go. Don't circle around us all day. Your dad isn't incapable of pouring water. My dad is poking around in the kitchen. I can pour. I just might pour too much." I went. A table of people sat in the private room, with Shenyao and Lin Wenzhou also there. She came back earlier than promised and didn't tell me. She sat in the window seat. Lin Wenzhou sat beside her. Between them was an empty chair, as if it were left for me, yet also as if it were set up for others to see. When I pushed the door open, the private room fell silent. The former squad leader Gao Che immediately stood up to smooth things over. "Cheng Yan is here. Come. Come. Sit this way." What he meant by this way was the empty chair. I glanced at it and didn't move. Lin Wenzhou stood up, smiling gently. "Cheng Yan, long time no see. The last matter really bothered Shenyao, and I also hope you understand." He spoke the 2 words "understand" lightly, as if he had already stamped them for me. Shenyao looked at me, a bit tenser in her eyes. "Cheng Yan, please have a seat. We'll talk." I looked around, pulled a chair beside Gao Che. "I'll just sit here." That empty chair stared blankly in the middle. The atmosphere became a bit awkward for a moment. Lin Wenzhou slowly sat back down, his fingertips brushing the water glass. "Are you still angry?" I draped my coat over the back of the chair. "No. I just don't like sitting in a seat arranged by someone else. Someone in the private room lowered their head to drink water, while others pretended to look at the menu. Shenyao's expression changed. She was probably used to me stepping in to handle all situations for her, but she had never seen me put the situation back on the table as it was. Gao, he hurriedly laughed. Order, order. Let's not bring up the past today. We're not young anymore. Our stomachs are more delicate than our emotions. A tableful of people began to laugh, and the atmosphere barely moved. But I know that some empty chairs, from the moment they were set out, were not for sitting. They are there to remind you that others already have a place in their hearts. That meal was very educational. I've learned a truth. A class reunion isn't a meal. It's a large emotional blind box. You don't know when you sit down what will be revealed: nostalgia, comparison, or a live replay of youth's pain by an ex and her bright moonlight. Lin Wenzhou is very good at talking. He raises his glass to me, his posture very humble. Cheng Yan, these years I've been abroad. You've come up a lot in conversations with me. She says you're steady, reliable, and incredibly good to her. Honestly, I'm quite envious. I hold the teacup, not touching the wine. What are you jealous of? He was stunned for a moment. I smiled. Are you envious of my composure? Or envious of my reliability? Someone at the table let out a small chuckle, then quickly coughed to cover it. Lin Wenzhou's expression stiffened for half a second. Then he quickly recovered. Everyone's envious. Don't misunderstand. Yao Yao and I are just old friends. Shen Yao frowned. Cheng Yan, don't speak like that. With that line, the private room grew even quieter. I looked at her. Which of my words was inappropriate? Shen Yao pursed her lips. Lin Wenzhou reached out and pressed her hand back. It's nothing. It's my fault for bringing it up. His hand rested very naturally, and Shen Yao did not dodge. I've seen this gesture before. In the cafe, backstage at the anniversary celebration, in the corridor on her birthday night. Lin Wenzhou could always reach out at the most apt moment, like lightly plucking a string, and Shen Yao's emotions would tilt toward him. At that time I thought I shouldn't think too much about it. Now I realize it's not that I think too much. It's that I can tolerate too much. Gao, he raised his glass. Enough. Enough. Let's not talk about this today. Come. I wish everyone good health and a steady hairline. Everyone laughed together as the wine cups clinked. Shen Yao watched me all night. I didn't dodge. Nor did I speak up. After the dishes came, I focused on eating. The black pepper beef at that restaurant was decent, though the portion was so small it seemed like the chef was making a specimen. Midway through the meal, Lin Wenzhou took a call and stood up to go outside. Shen Yaoli immediately stood up and said, I'll go take a look. Gao Chei's gaze drifted to my face, then quickly looked away. I scooped a bite of vegetables. The flavor was so bland it felt healthy. Healthy to the point of punishing life. 5 minutes later, I went to the restroom. And as I passed by the corridor I heard sounds coming from the security passage. Shen Yao said, Wenzhou, you stop drinking. Your stomach isn't well. Lin Wenzhou whispered with a smile. You still remember now? Of course I remember. Her tone softened. You've always been like this. When you're uncomfortable you don't say anything. My steps stopped. A line of light leaked through the door crack, shining on the tiles. The sound wasn't loud, but it was clear enough. Lin Wenzhou asked, What about Cheng Yan? Is he upset? Shen Yao was silent for a few seconds. He's been a bit sensitive lately. It'll be fine after a while. Are you sure? He won't really leave me. That sentence is like a nail. It doesn't make a loud clang, but it sinks in steadily. I didn't push the door open, nor did I cough to remind him. Some truths can't be interrupted. Interrupting them would be rude. I turned around and walked back to the box. Picked up my coat. Gao Chei froze. Are you leaving now? There's something at home. Shall I see you off? No need. I picked up my phone. You all eat slowly. When Shen Yao returned, I had already reached the door. She saw the coat in my hand and her expression changed. Cheng Yan, what are you doing? Going home. Meal isn't finished yet. I am full. She followed out. The corridor dimly lit. A few pretentious abstract paintings on the wall. She stood in front of me, lowering her voice. Did you hear something? I looked at her. Her gaze flickered. First guilty, then aggrieved, and finally settled into habitual reproach. Could you stop always like this? She said. Wenzhou just returned to the country. He's unstable right now. If I'm more concerned, what's the problem? If you nitpick about every little thing, how will we live in the future? I have heard those words too many times. I suddenly felt that she was like a seasoned chef, pouring my unease, her favoritism, and Lin Wonjo's presence all into the pot, then serving a dish named "You're Too Worried." I smiled. In the future. She froze. Shenyao. What kind of future do you mean? I asked. The future where you fly to London to take care of him? Or the future outside the compartment where you say I won't leave? Her face turned pale. You heard. I nod. I can hear you quite clearly. The hotel isn't well insulated. Next time, pick somewhere a bit more expensive. Her eyes redden. That's not what I mean. It's just, I know you too well. You've always been there. Previously. Yes. After those 3 words fall, the corridor suddenly goes quiet. Shen Yaoshuo reached out and grabbed my sleeve. Cheng Yen. We've been together for 7 years. It's not a matter of just not wanting something when you say not to. Don't scare me with rude words. I lowered my head and looked at her hand. That hand once tucked into the pocket of my coat in winter, saying my hands were warm and suitable to be a human-shaped hot water bottle. It also once, on the night Lin Wonjo returned home, pulled from my palm to fetch his suitcase. I slowly pull out the cuffs. Other people's old flames shouldn't be my responsibility to settle. I said, I can't afford it, and I don't want to pay anymore. Shenyao flinched as if struck, her lips trembling. Are you breaking up? Yes. Her breathing faltered. Is it because of Wenzhou? Not because of him. I looked at her. It's because every time you choose him, you ask me to keep understanding you. She stood there, stunned. The security corridor door was pushed open. Lin Wenzhou stood a little distance away. The gentleness on his face faded a little, as if an actor had forgotten to take a bow. Cheng Yen, he said, don't misunderstand. Yao Yao is just worried about me. I looked at him. When you called her Yao Yao, did you ask her boyfriend if he minded? Lin Wenzhou fell silent. Shen Yao panicked. Cheng Yen. I didn't say another word, turning to walk toward the elevator. Before the elevator doors closed, I saw Shen Yao chase a couple of steps before Lin Wenzhou called him back. She turned around. This time, I could see clearly. The elevator plummeted downward, and the floor numbers jumped one by one. My phone screen lit up with a message from Su Zhaoxi. Auntie asked me to ask if you're coming home for lunch tomorrow. She said she'll cook stewed fish. It won't be bad. I looked at that line and suddenly smiled. I replied to her. Yes. Tell her to use less salt. A few seconds later, Su Zhaoxi replied. Too late. Uncle has already added salt. Go home to save the scene. I stand in the elevator, leaning against the cold metal wall, and for the first time feel that a breakup isn't the end of the world. The sky hasn't fallen. It's just that the roof has been leaking for 7 years, and I finally decided to move out. On the 3rd day after the breakup, Shenyao blocked me downstairs at my company's building. That day the wind was strong, and the flagpole at the entrance of the office building rattled loudly in the wind. She wore a black coat, her hair tied up tightly, and she was carrying a few of the things I used to leave at her house. A paper bag, containing 7 years. Looks very economical. I just came out of a client meeting, my mind filled with budget sheets and delivery timelines. And when I saw her at first glance, I nearly thought I had gone to the wrong floor. Shenyao walked over, handed me the paper bag. Your things. I took it. Thank you. She frowned. That's all you're going to say? I lowered my head and looked at the paper bag. Inside there was an old shirt, a book I had dropped, and a mug. The mug was from our first year when we went to the pottery studio together, crooked as if it had just endured an earthquake. I said, you can throw away the cup. It leaks easily. Shenyao's face couldn't help but tighten at once. Cheng Yen. Don't be so sarcastic and grim. I didn't. I looked at her. I'm really reminding you. That cup was leaking to begin with. Her eyes reddened. Before, I feared her red eyes the most. As long as she felt wronged, I would immediately reflect on whether I had gone too far. Now I stand in the wind and realize that her reddened eyes are just reddened eyes. They won't automatically cast my fault onto you. Shenyao took a deep breath. That day I didn't chase you because I heard Zhou Wei had a stomach ache. You know full well that he isn't in good health. You're at it again with that attitude. Her voice tightened. Do you have to corner me until I have nothing to say? I switched the paper bag to the other hand. Shenyao. We have already broken up. You don't need to explain that his stomach hurts to me, and I don't need to pretend to sympathize with you. She paused for a moment, as if the word breakup hadn't quite registered yet. I didn't agree. Breaking up isn't a project initiation. It doesn't require both sides to stamp. She looked up at me, tears finally falling. 7 years. You say you're breaking up just like that. Cheng Yen, what do you take me for? I looked at her, and my heart felt calm. This problem is wonderful. She chased someone out of the country and back, asking me what I think of her. Like a person who finishes someone else's dish and then blames their own bowl for not being enthusiastic enough. I used to think you were my future, I said. Now, treat it as in the past. Shenyao's face was unbelievably pale. She bit her lip. Have you found someone else? I frowned. That's Su Zhaoxi. She stared at me. She was there at the hospital for days. Right. I wasn't there. And you let her take advantage of the opportunity. That remark almost made me laugh out loud. Shenyao, your absence is a fact. Her presence is a fact too. As for taking advantage of the opportunity, I paused. You have to admit that it really did become empty there. She froze. And the panic in her eyes finally overtook the anger. You didn't talk to me like that before. People update their systems, I said. I've simply turned off automatic forgiveness. Someone passed by at the entrance of the office building, slowing to glance at us. Shenyao cares about face, and immediately lowered her voice. Cheng Yen. Let's find a place to talk. No need. There is a need. She grabbed my arm. You can't be so irresponsible. I looked at her hand. She seemed to realize something and slowly let go. Just as this happened, Su Zhaoxi walked out of the building, holding a stack of sample catalogs in her arms. She came to our company today to discuss cooperation, wearing a light gray suit, a pencil tucked behind her ear, looking like she had just rescued a design proposal from the battlefield. She saw us, and her steps paused. I hadn't even spoken yet when Xinyao turned to her first. Miss Su. Right. Su Zhaoxi steadied the sample catalogs in her arms. Yes. You are Xinyao. Xinyao gave a small smile, though it wasn't a pleasant one. You know my relationship with Cheng Yen, right? Su Zhaoxi looked at me, then at her. Know it apart. Now it seems. It should be past tense. This girl has one advantage in speaking. She doesn't bend. Shenyao's expression changed. 7 years with him. It's not something you can compare with a few days of care. Su Zhaoxi fell silent for half a second, then placed the sample book on the edge of a nearby flower bed and said seriously, Miss Shen, you've misunderstood. I'm not competing with you. I just happened to appear when he needed someone, and you just happened to be absent. The wind lifted the wisps of hair from her forehead, and she reached up to push them back. If you think this is stealing, then what you can't beat isn't me. It's time. Shenyao moved her lips, but did not speak. I turned my head to look at Su Zhaoxi, and something suddenly bumped gently inside my heart. She didn't help me argue, and she didn't stand up for me. She simply laid the facts out there. Clean. Concise. Not sticky. Shenyao's tears welled up again. Cheng Yen, are you going to let her talk about me like that? I lifted the paper bag. What she said is the truth. Shenyao Wang looked at me as if finally understanding that I'm not just throwing a tantrum this time. She stepped back, lowering her voice. Then what am I to you? This question is too trivial, so light that a gust of wind could blow it away. I remembered college year, her sitting by the library window, sunlight resting on her shoulders. I ran over with 2 cups of milk tea. She looked up and smiled. Cheng Yen, why are you so slow? At that moment I truly believed I would walk slowly to her side for a lifetime. Only later did I realize that some people don't wait for you to walk over. They're just used to someone delivering milk tea. You're someone I've genuinely liked, I said. And also where I should stop. Shenyao's tears splashed down. Su Zhaoxi didn't stay for the drama. He picked up the sample book and whispered, I'll wait in the car while you talk. I have nothing to talk about, I said. She paused. I turned to Xinyao. In the future, don't come to the company to look for me. I will sort out your things and mail them to you. Xinyao stood in the wind, her black coat blown tight to her body, so thin she looked like a mere shadow. I didn't stop again, walking to the parking lot. Su Zhaoxi leaned against the car and took the pencil from behind her ear. Are you okay? All right. She looked me up and down. This kind of answer usually appears when someone is not doing well. I laugh. Then another one, I am hungry. When you're hungry, there will be salvation. She opened the car door. There's a noodle shop nearby. The beef is solid. The boss lady's face is sour, but her hands don't shake. I get in the front passenger seat, outside the car window. Shenyao's figure remained at the building entrance. She didn't rush forward. She merely looked down at the phone in her hand. Su Zhaoxi started the car, and there was no urge for me to look ahead. When the traffic light turned red, she suddenly said, "Cheng Yan, don't rush to start anything. I know, I'm not rejecting you." She looked ahead, her voice very soft. "I just want to lucid you." The red light flickers green, and the traffic rushes forward. I watch her hands on the steering wheel, slender fingers, steady movements. "Then wait for me," I say. Her lips moved slightly. "I can wait, but don't make me wait into a tourist attraction. People come to check in and take photos. I'd be too embarrassed to collect the entrance fees." I burst out laughing. The car passed the crossroads. Sunlight slid down from the windshield and lit up the side of her face. For the first time I understood that the person who truly waits for you won't tether you to the same spot. She will stand not far away, watching you finish walking the old road. Then ask if you want a bowl of hot noodles. That noodle shop is tucked between two office buildings. Its signboard so old it looks like it was just beaten by life. The proprietress's face is indeed sour. When she served the noodles, she slammed the empty bowl onto the table, and the soup almost splashed onto my sleeve. Su Zhaoxi remained calm, pulling out chopsticks from the chopstick sleeve. "Don't be afraid. She's like this with everyone. Last time she did the same with the client as well." And the client even ordered another bowl after finishing. I took a taste. The beef was indeed genuinely generous. "How did you know about a place like this?" "Survival skills for designers." She picks up a bunch of noodles with chopsticks. "Where it's cheap. Where you can sit. Where the boss won't chase people away. We know all the ins and outs." I look at the pale bluish under her eyes. "You haven't been sleeping much these days, have you?" She scoops soup with a spoon. "Not bad. After the project is handed in and the client asks for the 10th revision. I'm already not far from transcending to immortality. Has the 10th version not been decided yet?" "It's settled," she said. "We're going with the 7th edition. The first 9 editions were mainly to drain human lifespans." I almost choked with laughter. She handed me a tissue. The gesture so natural it seemed she had done it many times. But she quickly pulled her hand back, not letting that natural ease turn into innuendo. She has always kept the right distance. This makes me feel comfortable, and it also pains me. Halfway through the meal, her phone rang. She answered, and her tone softened. "Mom." "Yes. I'm eating. With Cheng Yan." The voice on the other end was loud. Even through the table I could hear one sentence. "Which Cheng Yan? The one who used to trick you with bitter melon ice cream when you were little?" Su Zhaoxi closed his eyes. "Mom, can you save the memory for important stuff?" I suppress a smile. Her mother said a few more words, and the expression on her face gradually turned into helplessness. "I know. I didn't do anything reckless. He just broke up. I'm clear about it." That line was too direct, and my chopsticks paused. Su Zhaoxi gave me a glance, didn't dodge, and continued on the phone. "I'm not stupid either." Have you ever been stupid? That would be called heroic martyrdom." "Fine. I'm eating noodles. Goodbye." Hang up. She placed the phone back on the table. I said, "Auntie worried about you." "She's worried I pick through trash." Su Zhaoxi's expression was serious. "Even emotional trash counts." I forced a smile. "I really don't sound like high-quality assets right now. Don't sell yourself short." She sipped her soup. "At least you have self-awareness. That's a plus in the used market." I was ridiculed by her and had no temper left. Someone pushed the door open at the entrance of the noodle shop, and a cold wind dragged in a whiff of smoke. Su Zhaoxi raised a hand to press the menu down. The pages not blown away. Her fingers rested on the table. Nails cut very short. Neat and sharp. I suddenly asked, "You just said you advised yourself. What about the person you like?" She looked up at me. "Feel free to ask anything." I added, "If you don't want to talk, that's fine too." She was quiet for a moment, then laughed softly. "There isn't much that can't be said. His name is Zhou Yubai, captain of the university debate team. He's a really nice guy and good at taking care of people. But his eyes are on my roommate. Did you get together later?" "No. She pushed the chopped green onions aside in the bowl. My roommate likes someone else. And he's waiting too. The three of us are like a looping bus announcement that never stops. None of us get off. I didn't smile. She continued. On graduation day. He got drunk and asked if we could still be friends. I nearly said yes at the time. Later I saw myself in the mirror. Eyes swollen as if I had eaten 3 pounds of salt. I thought, forget it. I can't let friendship keep reviving the feelings I have. I looked at her. Su Zhaoxi spoke these words without resentment, as if she were talking about someone else's old affairs. Yet she gripped the chopsticks very tightly. And her fingertips went slightly pale. So you never contacted me again after that. We've been in touch. She spoke calmly. He sent me a wedding invitation when he got married. I sent the gift money, but I didn't go. That day I was at home painting a wall. Painted half the wall. The color was so ugly my mom said it looked like moldy tofu. Later I repainted the wall. And I also deleted him. She looked up at me and said, Cheng Yan, you can wait for one person, but you can't wait until you've turned into old furniture yourself. If no one moves you, you'll keep gathering dust. I slowly put down the chopsticks. She was talking about herself. And about me. The noodle shop was noisy. At the neighboring table 2 programmers were discussing a deployment incident. And the proprietress behind the counter cursed the delivery platform for taking too much commission. Life was steaming hot. And no one cared who was heartbroken. This is good. The big worries of my heart, even if put into a bowl of beef noodles, must be blown cool before eating. After finishing my meal, I went to settle the bill. The shopkeeper glanced at my phone and said, a friend of Xiao Su. She came last time to help me revise the menu. She said my signature character looks like someone who sells Tereso annoying. Su Zhaoxi coughed from behind. The shopkeeper continued. But after the changes, business picked up. Don't bully her. She may look fierce, but she's actually soft-hearted. Su Zhaoxi pushed me out immediately. Go. 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 The boss lady has more phone credit today. When we stepped outside, it was already dark. By the roadside, there was a small stall selling roasted sugared chestnuts. The iron pot simmered with sand, and the aroma wafted over. Su Zhaoxi slowed down a bit, his gaze drifting past, then pretended not to look. I asked, want some? Don't eat. She was very determined. 3 minutes later, we each stood under the streetlight holding a bag of chestnuts. Her method of peeling chestnuts was poor, with stuck to the edges of her nails. I couldn't watch any longer. Took one chestnut, popped the shell, and handed it to her. She accepted it and didn't eat immediately. Cheng Yan. You've peeled for Xinyao before too, right? My hand paused. This question is not easy to answer. She smiled gently. Don't be nervous. I'm not trying to ruin accounts. I just want to say, don't bring your old habits to me. You can treat me well, but you must be clear. It's because I am me, not because you're used to taking care of a lover. The chestnut steam warmed my palms. I nodded. Understood. She placed the chestnut in her mouth, her cheeks puffing a little. Then that's good. Look, I don't ask for much. Only that your mind stays attentive. I laugh. This request is actually pretty high. So you're working hard. She turns and walks toward the parking lot, the streetlight lengthening her shadow. She doesn't look back, but she nudges the bag of chestnuts in her hand back a little. Here's another one for you. A reward for not messing up today. I take it, my fingertips brushing against the back of her hand. Her hands were a little cold, so she pulled them back quickly. And her ears reddened a little under the lamp. That small emptiness in my heart suddenly stopped leaking. After returning home, Xinyao sent a message. I wasn't trying to make trouble at your company today. I was just afraid. I looked for a long time and replied, don't contact me again. She didn't respond immediately. At 1 o'clock in the middle of the night, her phone vibrated. Xinyao said, you really aren't waiting for me anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed, the moonlight outside the window falling onto the floor, like a clean path. I replied, I've waited. You didn't come back. After sending this line, I put her into Do Not Disturb. There was no romance. No thrilling end. It was just in that instant when my finger pressed down, I knew I had finally removed that empty chair. Spring comes slowly. My mom is recovering well and has started taking walks in the community. She tires after walking to the 3rd lap each day, yet insists she can still go another half lap. My dad follows behind like a moving bodyguard. holding a thermos. With a face that says I'm not worried, but I won't admit it. Su Zhaoxi occasionally comes to visit her. Whenever she visits, she never comes empty-handed. But the items are not expensive. 2 jean of strawberries, a package of low-sugar cookies, or a small pot of pothoes. She says if she gives something too expensive, my mom will feel burdened. If she gives something too cheap, my mom will think she's stingy. My mom likes her. And it's obvious how much she likes her. After Su Zhaoxi left once, my mom sat on the sofa peeling an orange, slowly saying, "Xiao Yan, Zhaoxi is like a lamp." I pretended to be stupid. "A light bulb." My mom tossed the orange peels back. "You're the light bulb. She's the kind of light that isn't harsh. But as long as she's in the room, it isn't dark." I bowed my head to catch the orange peel, making no rebuttal. My dad was washing dishes in the kitchen, peeking in to add, "Your mom rarely praises people who use such long sentences. It shows you're serious." I said, "Don't go matchmaking randomly." My mom looked at me. "We don't mix things up. You yourself shouldn't ruin things." These words leave me speechless. I maintain a strange distance with Su Zhaoxi. We eat together, talk about work, and on weekends accompany my mom for follow-up checks. She vents about clients changing cool gray to money gray. And I peel the chestnuts she can't shell and push them over. But every time the mood is about to move forward, she steadies herself. Like a bridge with guardrails. I know she's waiting for me to wake up. And I also know I can't rush. Trying to prove that I've moved on from my old relationship in a hurry just means I haven't really moved on. At the end of May, the company's new project started. And I was assigned to negotiate a brand upgrade with a cultural tourism group. The contact person was temporarily changed, and when the meeting room door opened, Shenyao walked in. She wore a white shirt, held a folder of materials in her hand, and her hair was cut a bit shorter. When she saw me, her steps paused. I was stunned too. The client-side lead smiled and introduced. "This is our new project director, Shenyao. He has extensive foreign project experience. You should communicate more with him in the future." Those 3 words, "communicate more," fell, and the pen in my hand nearly flew away. Shenyao sat opposite me, his expression quickly returning to professional. "Manager Cheng, long time no see." I nodded. "Senior Shen." Her eyes flickered. The meeting proceeded as usual. Shenyao has always performed well, with clear logic and concise expression. She isn't the type who only has an emotional side. She has ambition and is willing to fight. I once admired this about her. But later I realized she is best at turning every relationship into a resource she can call upon on her life's path. After the meeting, other clients began to leave one after another. Shenyao stayed in the meeting room, bowing her head to organize the materials. "If you call me that now, it feels too distant." I closed the laptop. "In the workplace, it's appropriate." She looked up. "Do you have to go this far, Mr. Shen? Is there any additional project requirement?" Her eyes reddened slightly, but she held back. "After I returned to China, I changed jobs. Wen Zhou has also come back. He is starting a business now." I didn't respond. She seemed a little uncomfortable being driven by my silence. "I'm not with him. That has nothing to do with me." This sentence came out of my mouth, and I was surprised by it myself. It's not that I'm acting out of spite. I genuinely don't want to know. Shenyao stared at me. "Are you together with Su Zhaoxi?" "No." A glimmer appeared in her eyes. I continued. But I was seriously approaching her. That light went out quickly. The blinds in the meeting room were half closed, and the light outside cut into strips that fell onto the desk. Shenyao's hand rested on the folder, the fingertips pale. "Is she waiting for you?" she asked. She didn't press me, and she didn't tell me to stand by where I was. Shenyao smiled. A wry smile. "You're blaming me. I don't have that much energy." I stood up. "Please send the project details by email. I will reply according to the procedure." She suddenly called after me. "Cheng Yan." I stopped at the doorway. What if I hadn't gone to London that year? Would we have gotten married? This question is like a late invitation. The address has changed, and yet someone asks me whether I'll come or not. I look back at her. "Shenyao, it's not a matter of London." Her eye sockets were completely reddened. "You always know I will wait. So you leave with particular ease." After I finished speaking, I pushed the door open and went out. In the elevator, I messaged Su Zhaoxi. "Are you free tonight? I want to take you out for a meal." She came back after a few minutes and said, "Are you just hoping to see me today? Or have you been stimulated by something?" I looked at the screen and smiled. "Both. But the latter accounts for only 10%. She replied. 10% is too precise. As if you're trying to deceive the client. I replied. That 8%. She. Deal. I'll choose the venue. In the evening she picked a Cantonese restaurant. Its hallmark being crispy skinned squab. She gnawed on the squab very seriously, with no trace of the modern city girl burdens. I told her what happened during the day. After she finished listening, she wiped her hands with a wet wipe. "She is back. So you're flustered." "Somewhat," I admitted, "but it's not about wanting to turn back. It's that I suddenly saw old problems dressed up in new clothes." Su Zhaoxi nodded. "That's normal. Old clothes becoming new doesn't mean the person has changed." I looked at her. "Aren't you worried?" "Worried?" She spoke very directly. "I'm not a stone lion. But I can't make choices for you." She looked up. Her gaze calm. "Cheng Yan, I can wait for you to sweep the dust from your heart. But what I want is a livable house. Not an old warehouse that leaks in the middle of the night." My throat tightened a bit. "I know." She scooped a piece of greens into my bowl and said, "If you know, just eat. Don't just be moved. Being touched won't fill you up." I looked down and smiled. After the meal, we walked along the riverbank. The night wind carried a salty breath, and distant tall buildings glowed like a row of sleepless giants. Su Zhaoxi walked beside me, his steps neither fast nor slow. I suddenly said, "Su Zhaoxi, I want to pursue you officially." She paused, turning her head to look at me. The Jiang wind blew her hair to the side of her face. She raised her hand to keep it away, her eyes showing a bit of surprise, and also a hint of an unhidden smile. "To what extent is official?" she asked. "It's not thanks. It's not pain relief. It's not habit. It's that I want to see you, to understand you, to leave the future position to you." She looked at me and was silent for a long time. So long that my palms started to sweat. Then she stretched out her hand. "Palm up. Then we'll start with holding hands. The trial period. No refunds or exchanges." I looked down at her hand and smiled. When I took hold of it, her fingertips were still a little cold. But this time, she didn't withdraw immediately. Along the riverbank, someone was flying a kite. The line was indistinct in the night. The kite didn't fly high, but it hung steadily in the wind. I held Su Zhaoxi's hand, and the long-lasting rain in my heart finally stopped. Looking proper at last. After actively pursuing Su Zhaoxi, I realized this task wasn't easy. She's not the type of girl who can be won over with a single bouquet of flowers or a meal. She's happy to receive flowers, but will first ask the price. She's serious about meals, but won't let me. She says the first rule of modern love is not to turn romance into financial fraud. I gave her a bouquet of sunflowers, and she held the flowers and looked at them for a long time. "Why not roses?" My heart tightened. "Do you like roses?" She shook her head. "No. I'm just confirming whether you've been lazy and used a template. Is that qualified?" She forced a nod. "Passing. The sunflower is nice. It looks like you can show up on time." I couldn't stop laughing. She placed the flowers on the studio windowsill, and the sunlight fell, making the yellow petals gleam brilliantly. Her colleague Qi Yan leaned in to look, as if she had spotted a ripe watermelon in a melon field. "Yo! Zhao Shi, who sent these? These flowers are so spirited, like someone just got a performance bonus." Su Zhaoxi kept a calm expression. "Just a probationary employee." Qi Yan immediately looked at me. "Does the probation include 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund?" I said, "I'm working toward a full-time position." Everyone in the studio laughed. Su Zhaoxi's ears turned red, but she lowered her head and kept editing the drawing. She never liked showing affection in front of outsiders. Like a cautious cat, willing to approach but not letting you casually rub her belly. I respect her. On the weekend, I accompanied her to check a hostel project on site. The place is at the foot of the mountain, and there is an old persimmon tree in the yard, its branches reaching to the second-floor balcony. She carried a tape measure, measuring here and there, with mud on the soles of her shoes and the cuffs of her white shirt rolled up to her elbows. I was in charge of carrying bags, taking photos, handing out water, and reminding her there was a puddle behind her when she crouched down to measure the floor tiles. She glanced back at me. "Your internship has been impressive. Can I be converted to a full-time employee ahead of time?" Take your time. She tapped the notebook with a pen. You've just finished the beginner tutorial. At noon, the homestay owner treated us to lunch. There was chicken stewed with mountain mushrooms on the table. The owner was a woman in her 40s named Xu Qingman, who spoke bluntly and had sharp eyes. She could tell at a glance that Su Xiaoxi and I were more than just friends. Little Su, your boyfriend is pretty steady. Su Xiaoxi paused the bite of food in his chopsticks. Not really. Xu Qingman smiled. That means we are evaluating him. If the assessment goes well, a man should not only know how to talk. You must see whether he will be a nuisance when you are busy. I sat up straight immediately. Su Xiaoxi glanced at me sideways. For now, it doesn't seem too troublesome. That's already a high compliment. Xu Qingman poured me some tea. In the past, a guy who chased her came to the scene. He stood in the yard, complained about mosquitoes, and asked if they could turn on the air conditioner. In the mountains, who would blow aircon for? Blow it for wild boars. I nearly choked on my tea. Su Xiaoxi looked down, stifling a smile. After finishing in the afternoon, it started to drizzle in the mountains. The dirt road was slick. She stepped on a loosened patch of soil and her body wobbled. I reached out and steadied her arm. She leaned into my chest for half a second, then quickly stood upright. Raindrops fall on the umbrella surface. Pattering. She looks up at me. A little water clinging to her lashes. For that moment, the surroundings were quiet as if separated by rain. I didn't take the opportunity to hug her tighter, only releasing my hand. Careful. Su Xiaoxi looked at me for a few seconds, then suddenly laughed. You're more considerate now than before. Was it very bad before? Before, you were kind to people. A bit like wholesale. She held the umbrella and walked forward. Whoever needs you, you give. Give until your own warehouse is empty. And you still think there's a problem with inventory management? I followed. What about now? Now it's like retail. She said. Know how to look at buyers. Don't ship blindly. I was made to laugh by her metaphor. The rain grew heavier, and we hid under the eaves. She stuffed the notebook into her bag, her fingers turning red from the cold. I took off my coat and draped it over her shoulders. She didn't refuse. She just looked at me. Are you cold? Not too bad. The man says it's okay. But generally it isn't very good. You study that sentence a lot. After all, every time my dad catches a cold he says it's okay. And in the end he coughs like a tractor going uphill. I laughed and pulled up the zipper. On the way back to town, she leaned on the passenger seat and fell asleep. Rain traced long lines on the window. And inside the car only the navigation softly reminded of the speed limit ahead. I slowed down. When the traffic light turned red, I turned my head to look at her. She was sleeping lightly, her brows gently furrowed. As if in a dream she was still editing an image. I wanted to brush her stray hairs aside, my hand halfway there, then drew back. I don't want to disturb her. When we reached her building, she woke up, her eyes still a bit hazy. Are we here? She rubbed her eyes. Did I fall asleep? Sleep so soundly you could hear a client press pause. She laughed softly, unbuckled her seatbelt, but didn't rush to get out. The car quieted down. She looked at the rain outside the window and suddenly said, Cheng Yan. I'm actually a bit scared. I turned my head to look at her. Her voice was very soft. I'm afraid you only realized I'm good because Xinyao doesn't want you anymore. I'm even more afraid that one day she will turn back. And the door in your heart will open again. I didn't answer right away, because I know that this fear cannot be fobbed off with a single no. A promise that is too light ends up like a plastic bag, rattling when the wind blows. I parked the car steadily and turned off the wipers. Su Xiaoxi, I really was stupid before. I said. I treated stubbornness as devotion, and forbearance as decency. But now I'm very clear. I didn't only see you after Xinyao Lai abandoned me. It was only when I moved the things blocking my sight that I finally saw you shining all along. Her eyes reddened slightly, but she smiled. Your words sound a bit like advertising copy. Is the client satisfied? She sniffed. The client is considering increasing the budget. I breathed a sigh of relief. She pushed open the car door and got out from under the umbrella. After taking a couple of steps, she turned and tapped on my car window. I rolled down the window. She bent over, looking at me. The umbrella pressed down, covering half her face. Cheng Yan, the probation period is extended by 1 month. I was stunned. Why? Because your advertising copy just now was too practiced. I want to see if you're using a template library. I chuckled. Okay. She turned and walked into the hallway, her steps lighter than usual. I sat in the car until the lights in the hallway lit up floor by floor. My phone buzzed once. Xinyao. Next week's project retrospective. I hope you won't let personal emotions affect our collaboration. I read the message and replied. Don't worry. Work is work. She quickly sent again. Then what about personal matters? I didn't respond. The rain is still falling. And my face is reflected on the car window. I still look tired. But no longer as ready to rush toward anyone's summons as before. The ones who truly move forward do not need to look back to explain every step. The project debriefing will be scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. The air conditioning in the conference room was too strong. And a thin mist formed on the surface of the mineral water bottle on the table. When I carried in the plan, Xinyao was already sitting at the main seat, head bowed as he looked over the materials. Her makeup was very light today, with pale lips. And she looked a bit tired overall. Lin Wenzhou is also present. This is not what I had expected. The person in charge on the client side said that Lin Wenzhou's startup is participating in the group's overseas content collaboration. He came to observe the debriefing today to see if future resources could be connected. I gave Destiny a round of applause in my heart. Life is really good at arranging seats. The less you want to sit at the same table, the more it will pile a table for you, and even ask if you want extra dishes. Lin Wenzhou saw me and nodded with a smile. Cheng Yan. We meet again. I nodded in response and sat across from him. After the meeting started, things went relatively smoothly. Our team presented the plan. Xinyao asked questions. And Lin Wenzhou occasionally added insights about overseas user habits. Everyone was very professional. Professional to the point that those emotional tug-of-war moments had only been short videos glimpsed during lunch breaks before. Until Lin Wenzhou proposed a change. I suggest making the core visuals a bit more international. He said. Now this version is too domestic. It might not travel well overseas. I turned to the corresponding page. This project is currently in the domestic household segment for the first phase. Overseas is only an extension channel. Over-internationalization would dilute the main selling point. Lin Wenzhou laughed. But young people at home also like an international vibe. I said. Liking an international vibe doesn't mean willing to pay for something you can't understand. The meeting room fell quiet for a moment. Xinyao glanced at me, seeming to want to say something, but held back. Lin Wenzhou leaned back against the chair. Manager Cheng speaks as straightforward as ever. The project timeline is tight. Beating around the bush wastes energy. There was a light chuckle from someone on the client side. The review continues to move forward. When it came to the budget, Lin Wenzhou proposed adding a preheating campaign with overseas influencers. The cost is not small, but the returns are illusory. I projected the data directly onto the screen. This expense is not recommended to be included in the first phase. There isn't enough sample. The conversion chain is long, and it is weakly related to the current sales target. Lin Wenzhou's smile finally faded. Are you biased against overseas resources? I looked at him. I'm biased against expenses that have no basis for delivery. Xinyao whispered. Cheng Yan, mind your tone a bit. When she spoke, the conference room fell silent again. I closed the pen cap and said, President Shen, I am presenting the plan. If you think any data I included is problematic, you can point it out. Her lips pressed tightly together. Lin Wenzhou looked down and smiled. Forget it. Yao Yao, don't make things hard for him. Boss Lin. I looked at him. In the workplace, please address Mr. Shen. Even the client-side person in charge raised a cup to shield their face. Shenyao's face flushed and pale in turn. Lin Wenzhou looked at me, his gaze no longer gentle. Cheng Yan, you don't need to bring private emotions here. I clicked to the next page. Precisely because I don't bring personal emotions to it, I suggest you spend money on channels that can be implemented. The white moonlight can rely on filters, but a project cannot rely on sentiment. When this sentence landed, the conference room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioner blowing. I realized only after I finished speaking that I had used that word. Shenyao's fingers clenched under the table. The client-side leader cleared his throat. Manager Cheng's point is reasonable. It's safer to keep the first phase steady, and put Mr. Lin's idea in the second stage assessment. When the debriefing meeting ended, Lin Wenzhou was the first to stand up and leave. Xinyao stayed until the end. After her colleagues had all left, she closed the door of the conference room. Did you do that on purpose today? I bought a computer. Which line? The line about the white moonlight. I paused. Not intentional, but no regrets either. Her eyes reddened. Now your words are like knives. Used to be too cotton-like. Xinyao took a deep breath. Wenzhou's company has been having a hard time lately. He needs this project. You know it. I look up at her. This sentence is like a paperclip from the old days. Restapling the scattered papers of the past together. She is both asking me to understand and placing his difficulties on my desk. I suddenly wasn't angry anymore. Xinyao. I said. He needs the project. Talk with the plan and the delivery. Not with you and my past. She froze. You've always thought I targeted him because I care about you. I packed the computer into my bag. But today I'm just protecting the project. If you still drag everything into emotions, the one who gets tired isn't just me. Xinyao sat on the chair as if all her strength had been drained. After a long time, she whispered. He's not as bad as you think. Then let him prove it with his abilities. I walked to the door, and she suddenly asked, Does Su Zhaoxi know you met me today? Understood. She looked up, a hint of disbelief in her eyes. Did you tell her? Yes. Doesn't she mind? I remembered the voice message Su Zhaoxi sent me before I left this morning. She said, Focus on the meeting. Don't prove you don't care by appearing too concerned. That would just make you come off as too concerned. Also, remember to eat at noon. Low blood sugar can make you look like a villain. I laughed like a fool in the elevator at that moment. I looked at Xinyao. She minds, but she trusts that I will handle it. Xinyao fell silent. Trust is a cruel thing, when you can't obtain it. You realize you hadn't given it to others either. Leaving the client's company, the sky turned gray. I bought a cup of hot coffee downstairs and messaged Su Zhaoxi. It's done. Not playing the villain. She replied. Then what did you become? A project security guard. She. Thanks for your hard work, Mr. Security Guard. I'll treat you to half a portion of roast goose tonight. Why half a portion? She. The other half is mine. Love can be bargained for, but roast goose can't be given away. I smiled and tucked my phone into my pocket. After work, I went to her studio to pick her up. She had just finished a proposal meeting and looked drained, as if the soul had been drained by the client. I put the roast goose on the table. General Su, the security guard is here to report. She looked up and smelled the aroma. Her eyes lit up instantly. You may be in your probation period for a long time, but you have a lot of potential for development. Shi Yan peeked from the next room. Can I train a piece? Su Zhaoxi protected the lunchbox. No. You still owe me for grabbing my chicken wings yesterday. There was a burst of laughter in the studio. We sat by the small meeting table eating roasted goose, and the city lights outside the window began to glow one by one. After I finished the wrap-up meeting, the motion of picking up food paused for a moment. Did you mention the white moonlight? Not on purpose. That Xinyao must be feeling miserable. I look at her. Are you feeling sorry for her? Su Zhaoxi shakes her head. No. It's just that people are strange sometimes. When they have something, they treat others as air. When the air flows away, they say the room is stuffy. I pause for a moment. Do you think I'm too cruel today? She slipped a piece of roast goose onto my bowl and said, No. You've already been hard enough on yourself before. This sentence lands softly, more soothing than any comfort. I looked at her, and suddenly I really wanted to hug her, but a bit of sauce clung to the corner of her mouth, and she was chewing the skin with focus. The atmosphere overwhelmed by the roasted goose. Very down to earth. I handed her a tissue. She took it, wiping her eyes before realizing I was watching her. What are you looking at? Nothing. I smiled. I think you're wonderful. Her ears turned red, but her mouth stayed steady. Nonsense. The client already knows. That night I took her home, and the wind downstairs was gentle. Before she got off, she suddenly turned and hugged me. Very short, very light, like a leaf falling onto the shoulder. Award project security, she said. I hadn't reacted yet, when she had already grabbed the bag and run into the corridor. I sat in the car, hands on the steering wheel, smiling for a long time. The phone screen lit up. A message from Xinyao. Have I always worn you out before? I stared at those words for a long time and finally replied. Yes. This time. She didn't respond again. Lin Wenzhou's project ultimately did not make it into the first phase. The client's stated reason was polite. The phase targets didn't align, suggesting they would discuss it later. In plain terms, it's expensive, unreliable, and there's no visible return. That day, Shenyao called me, his voice tired. Wenzhou thinks you're meddling behind the scenes. I stood in the staff tea room, the coffee machine humming. He can check the review records. I know it wasn't you, she said, but he doesn't believe it. Then you called me to persuade him. There was silence on the other end of the line. I smiled. Shenyao, you see, it's happening again. Her breath quickened a little. I just don't know what to do. Before, whenever she said she didn't know what to do, I would automatically take over, do research, find connections, draft a plan, soothe her emotions, and finally tell her it's okay. Now I only say, then take your time to think. She sounded choked. Cheng Yan, I'm at work. I checked the time. Nothing else to do. I'll hang up first. After hanging up the phone, I carried a coffee back to my workstation. Old Guo from the colleagues leaned in. Manager Cheng, your aura is 2 meters 8 today. Who annoyed you just now? A historical issue left over from the past. Old Guo nodded. I see. After the system upgrade, the old plugins are not compatible. I teased him. You've been hanging out less with the tech department recently. Your mouth has started to sour. Life goes on. The internship with Su Zhaoxi is also in the second half. She said to extend by 1 month. Which sounds really serious as an assessment. She will observe my reactions when I meet Shenyao. And she will also watch whether my kindness to her is stable. One time I worked overtime until 10 o'clock. And she texted to ask if I had eaten. I said I had. She directly video called. And when she saw that on my desk there was only half a cup of coffee and a bag of biscuits, her face immediately turned cold. Chen Yan, is that what you call eating? I feel guilty. Cookies are carbohydrates too. If you keep this up, I'll change your probation period to an internship. There's also a demotion system. Yes. For severe cases, they are returned to the friendship observation pool. I immediately stood up and went downstairs to buy a meal. She nodded in satisfaction on the other end of the video. A child worthy of teaching. When I carried the lunchbox back to the office, I suddenly felt that this feeling of being supervised was strange but not oppressive. Shenyao had supervised me before, but she's supervised by telling me not to mind, not to overthink, not to make things hard for her. Is Su Zhaoxi who cares about whether I have eaten or not? The differences between people sometimes lie in a bowl of hot rice. In early June, Su Zhaoxi's homestay project entered the construction stage, and she was so busy that her feet didn't touch the ground. I went to the site on the weekend to deliver documents. As soon as I arrived at the gate of the courtyard, I saw a man standing under a persimmon tree, tall and slender, wearing glasses, holding a bouquet of white gladioli in his hand. Su Zhaoxi stood opposite him, expression unusually calm. My steps slowed down. The man saw me first and froze slightly. Your friend. Su Zhaoxi turned back, saw me, and his eyes clearly relaxed a bit. Cheng Yan. She didn't say friend. That man also caught on. His smile faded a little. Zhaoxi, aren't you going to introduce? Su Zhaoxi walked over to my side. Zhou Yubai. My college classmate. Cheng Yan. My boyfriend and the trial period candidate. I almost got crushed by that title. A hint of surprise flashed in Zhou Yu's eyes. But he soon smiled. Hello. I shook hands with him. His hand was very cool, the palm dry, and his tone polite. I'm back in Nanjing on a business trip. I heard that Zhaoxi is doing a project here, so I came by to take a look. Bringing flowers along by the way really understands route planning. So Zhaoxi glanced at Hua. Thanks, but the is dusty. It's a pity to bloom here. You should take it back. Zhou Yubai felt a bit awkward. Zhaoxi, it's been a long time since we met. Shall we have a meal together? No. Her tone was gentle, but there was no room for negotiation. I need to monitor the construction this afternoon. And I have to revise the node diagram tonight. He looked at me. Because of him. Su Zhaoxi frowned. I didn't speak. She looked up at Zhou Yubai. Because I don't want to go. This sentence was very soft, yet very hard. Zhou Yubao remained silent for a few seconds, giving a wry smile. You're still like this. Never leaving any room for others in what you say. I used to. Su Zhaoxi said. Later I found that leaving too much room makes you the first to falter. The wind blew through the persimmon tree, and the leaves rustled. Zhou Yibao looked at her with a complicated expression. I am divorced. Su Zhaoxi's expression didn't change much. A pang went through my heart. The return of the old person. Indeed, regardless of gender, place, or even consulting the almanac. Zhou Yubai whispered. Zhaoxi, I have thought about many things over the years. If I had understood sooner back then, perhaps we could have. There is no maybe. Su Zhaoxi interrupted him. You know very well who you liked back then. I liked you back then. I'm clear about it too. Things both of us know well. It's not renovate the current empty window period. I watched her, suddenly feeling like applauding. She continued. I'm sorry you're divorced. But this isn't my backup notice. Zhou Yu's pale face finally changed. I stood by her side, not interrupting, because this was her own old path. She walked it more steadily than I had imagined. After Zhou Yubai left, Su Zhaoxi leaned against the persimmon tree and let out a long sigh. I asked, Are you all right? She glanced at me. Aren't you jealous? Eat, I said. But I haven't yet eaten to the point of losing my mind. She smiled. Progress is great. I stepped closer. Do you need a hug? The kind outside the observation pool of friendship. She paused for a moment, then reached out and hugged me. This time it's not a temporary reward. She gently rested her forehead against my shoulder, and her breathing slowly steadied. Cheng Yan, she said softly. So there really are people who look back. And I can choose not to look back too. I raised my hand and gently patted her back. I said. You win. She smiled on my shoulder. It's not about beating him. It's about beating the previous self. The air after rain carried a earthy scent, and the construction crew were tapping and banging inside the house. She held me, without concealment and without panic. That moment I suddenly understood that we are not the kind of people who save each other so magnificently. We are just two people who once stood behind others for too long. And we have finally learned to move forward side by side. Xiao's notice of my official appointment was posted at the vegetable market. That day my mother suddenly craved crucian carp tofu soup, insisting that after returning from the hospital there was no taste in her mouth. My father isn't good at selecting fish. After picking and picking, it felt like he was doing some kind of mental work on the fish. I had to accompany them to the market on Saturday morning. We happened to run into Xiao at the seafood stall. She was wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, her hair tied into a bun, holding a bag of greens. Negotiating with the stall owner. Boss, 2 crucian carps. 1 big one for my mom to stew for soup. 1 small one for my cat to practice its gaze. The stall owner laughed. What gaze is a fish for a cat to practice? To let it know that there are creatures in the world more complex than canned tuna. When my mom saw her, her eyes lit up. Go along the stream. Su Zhaoxi turned around, saw the 3 of us, was stunned for half a second, and immediately laughed. Auntie, uncle, good morning. My dad carried a mesh basket, so enthusiastic as if he'd met a long-lost teammate. Xiao Su, you're buying fish too. Perfect. Help uncle look for the one with spirit. Su Zhaoxi squatted down to look at the fish in the water basin, carefully selecting 2. This one has bright eyes. This one has a strong tail. Uncle, only these 2. The stall owner laughed as he scooped up fish. Little girl, you know your stuff. My mom watched happily from the side. After Zhaoxi, our family will surely live well. A girl who can pick fish is not bad. I twisted the corner of my mouth. Mom, what's this new standard? My mom gave me a sidelong look. You don't understand. Living life is about these small things. Su Zhaoxi's ears turned a bit red, holding onto the fish without replying. After buying vegetables, my mom insisted that she come to our house for lunch at noon. She refused, saying she would go home to cook for her mother. But my mom immediately said the 2 families should eat together. To make it lively, at this point in the story, I could no longer interject. An hour later, Su Zhaoxi's mother, Bai Yingqiu, also arrived. Aunt Bai entered and patted my shoulder. Xiao Yan, you've grown taller. I fell silent for 2 seconds. Auntie, I probably won't grow taller after graduating from college. That looks pleasing to the eye. She set the fruit down, turned to my mom. Sister Yun, you look much better. My mom is named Su Yun, and my dad is named Qing Shouan. The 2 families' elders were close back then. And as soon as they sat down they segued into conversation. The living room was full of old neighborhood stories, whose kid picked loquat without permission, whose grandpa sang opera off-key, whose water pipe burst and flooded downstairs. Su Zhaoxi sat beside me, whispered, "I have a premonition of misfortune." I watched the four elders chatting heatedly. It wasn't just a premonition, it was a documentary on site. At the dining table, my dad cooked fish, Aunt Bai stir-fried the greens, and my mom took charge. When the soup was finally served, it was milky white, and surprisingly tasty. Auntie Bai took a sip and said, "Show Anja's craftsmanship is impressive." My dad swelled up immediately. "Average is fine, as long as the fish are good." Su Zhaoxi glanced at me and whispered, "Your dad and my dad are very similar. Once praised, they get carried away. Where is uncle? He's out of town doing a project. Comes back only a few times a year." She picked up a piece of tofu. "So my mom always says that a man who can be relied on is very important. It's not that he can't be busy, but when he's busy, his heart mustn't lose contact." I nodded. After meals, the adults went to the balcony to look at the flowers, leaving only Su Zhaoxi by my side in the living room. She sat on the sofa, watching the two families chat and laugh, her expression a little gentler. "When I was little, I thought this kind of scene was ordinary," she said. "After we moved, everyone became absorbed in their own things, and I realized that even bustling moments can expire." I handed her a glass of warm water. "Now it's renewed." She took it, and my fingers brushed against hers. Laughter came from the balcony. Aunt Bai was saying that when I was little I pretended to be a hero with a broom, but ended up breaking the hallway light bulb. My dad added that I insisted the light bulb was my own noble sacrifice. Su Zhaoxi's shoulders shook with laughter. "You had quite a gift for storytelling when you were little. Don't listen to their exaggerations. I find it credible." She looked at me. "You're good at turning awkwardness into humor." I pretended to be hurt. "Is this a strength?" "Well," she nodded seriously, "I like it." She spoke so naturally that I was the one who froze. Su Zhaoxi also realized what she had said. A glimmer of light in her eyes as she lowered her head to drink. I watched her ears turn rosy, and my heartbeat suddenly quickened. After a while, she set the cup down. "Cheng Yan. The probation period is over." I hold my breath. She turns her head to me, with a smile in her eyes and a bit of nervousness. "Do you want to go permanent?" The living room was bathed in just the right sunlight, and the scent of fish soup hadn't faded yet. The grandparents' laughter from the balcony reached through the glass, so warm it was almost unbelievable. I asked softly, "What benefits will there be after you're formalized?" She thought for a moment. "We can hold hands. No need to apply every time. We can pick you up and drop you off. But you can't use overtime as an excuse to order takeout. We can argue, but we can't coldly ignore each other for more than one meal." I laughed. "Anymore. Also." She stretched out her hand. "From now on, you're not allowed to put yourself last." I hold her hand. "Then you as well," I said. "Don't ever think of yourself as a substitute again." Her eyes were slightly reddened, but the corners of her mouth curved upward. "Deal." When my mom pushed open the balcony door, she just happened to see us holding hands. The living room fell silent for a moment. My dad cleared his throat first, pretending not to see, then turned to Aunt Bai and asked, "Where is the fruit knife?" Aunt Bai was more straightforward than him. "Oh, this fish was quite a bargain." Su Zhaoxi's face flushed like a newly hot tomato, and she wanted to pull her hand away. I held it and didn't loosen. My mom sat across from us, smiling with fine lines at the corners of her eyes. Not bad. No exaggerated blessings. No urging to marry. No uproarious cheering that would make someone want to run away. Just 2 words, spoken with a steady conviction. After sending Su Zhaoxi home in the evening, she reached the stairwell and suddenly looked back. "Boyfriend." My chest moved slightly. "Ha." She pointed to the empty lunch box in my hand and said, "Remember to return it to my mom tomorrow. That lunch box is expensive if you lose it. You can't afford to replace it." I laugh. "Yes, sir." She came back again and tapped my cheek with a tiptoe. Very softly. Soft to the point where the last petal of spring falls. "Plus," she said, "you performed well today." I touched where I had been kissed. Standing downstairs for half a day without moving, the phone vibrated a few times in my pocket, and when I took it out to look, it was a message from Xinyao. The Wenzhou project failed. He blames me for not fighting for him. A few minutes later. Another message. Cheng Yan. I only now understand what it feels like to be left behind by someone. I looked at the screen. With neither the satisfaction of revenge nor the waves of old feelings rekindling, I just turned off the phone and looked up at the light upstairs. In that lamp. Someone is waiting for me to return the lunchbox. Xinyao appeared again. This time with an invitation. That day, Su Zhaoxi and I had just decided to go see a small apartment over the weekend. Not moving in immediately, just that her studio was far from home. And she wanted to rent a closer place as a temporary rest point. I went with her to look at the apartment, mainly responsible for checking water pressure, outlets, and window sealing. Su Zhaoxi said, "You're like a quality inspector for life now." I replied, "To become an official boyfriend, you have to demonstrate your value in the role." She nodded. "Keep it up." Endofire Awards. We had just stepped out of the agency storefront when we saw Xinyao standing by the street. She wore a light blue dress, holding a white envelope in her hand. The wind lifted the hem, and she looked thinner than when we last met. Saw her, his steps not slowing, just tilting his head to glance at me. "Do you want me to withdraw?" I shake my head. "No need." Xinyao steps closer. His gaze lingers a moment on the hands we are holding, and the smile on his face is a little forced. "Cheng Yan, Zhaoxi." When she called out Su Zhaoxi's name, there was a touch of awkwardness. Su Zhaoxi nodded politely. "Miss Shen." Xinyao handed me the envelope. "I'm getting engaged next month. I'd like you to come." I looked at the envelope and didn't take it. On the envelope are gold-stamped characters, with her and Lin Wenzhou's names. The handwriting is very pretty, like a ceremony that has finally been completed. "Congratulations," I said. Xinyao's eyes dimmed a little. "Aren't you going to open and take a look?" "No need." My tone was calm. "As long as the blessing is received." Her hand froze midair. Su Zhaoxi did not speak, only gently released my hand. I turned my head to look at her. She gave me a look meaning, "Handle it yourself." Xinyao noticed the gesture and gave a wry smile. "You two have a good relationship." "Still working on it," I said. She lowered her head. "Wenzhou and I are also working on it." This sentence doesn't sound happy. It sounds like overtime. She retracts the invitation, her fingertips stroking the seal. After his startup failed, he was in a very bad mood. We fought many times and even separated. Later I thought, since I went to London for him back then, I can't end up with nothing at this point. I frowned. This logic sounds familiar. Like someone who bought the wrong train ticket and refuses to get off after passing the stop, claiming they've come too far to turn back. Xinyao looked up at me. "Do you think I'm ridiculous? I'm not qualified to judge your choices. You used to persuade me." Her eyes reddened. "You would tell me what to do." I used to think I could persuade him. She remained silent. Traffic flows back and forth along the street. In the real estate agency, people are discussing rent, their voices breaking in and out. Life is noisy, and no one pauses to listen to the regrets of someone who is gone. Xinyao suddenly looked at Su Zhaoxi. "Aren't you afraid?" Su Zhaoxi was stunned. "What are you afraid of?" "Afraid that he still has me in his heart." After saying this, Xinyao seemed to feel embarrassed himself, his voice lowering. "After all, it's been 7 years for us." I was about to speak, when Su Zhaoxi gently pressed my hand. She looked at Xinyao, neither sharp nor triumphant. "I'm afraid," Su Zhaoxi said, "but fear won't solve the problem. If I were afraid and forced him to prove it, to explain it, to cut flesh from the past and show it to me, how would I be any different from the past?" Shen Yaoting paused. "I only look at the present," Su Zhaoxi continued. "He is now holding my hand, replying to my messages, will tell me when we eat, and will talk when he is sad. I didn't participate in the past. I won't grab the ledger." She paused. "But from now on, who owes whom? Who should repay who?" My heart felt as if it were scalded by warm water. Xinyao looked at her, and tears suddenly fell. She quickly wiped them away, and her smile was wretched. "No wonder he likes you." Su Zhaoxi didn't respond to that sentence. Xinyao turned to me. "Cheng Yan, you really won't come on the day of my engagement?" I shook my head. "I'm not going." The last glimmer of hope in her eyes faded. "Why?" I thought to myself. "Because I no longer need to go there to confirm that I have let go." Shen Yao's hand holding the invitation trembled slightly. I said again, Don't rely on my appearance to confirm whether you chose correctly. After I finished that sentence, her tears could no longer be held back. She turned around, raised her hand, and covered her face. After a long while, she whispered, "Cheng Yen, I'm sorry. This sentence can't be matched too late. But it isn't as useless as I imagined. It's like a late button that can't be sewn onto the clothes. But at least it proves the clothes were indeed torn." I said, "Received." She turned to look at me, a hint of confusion in her eyes. I didn't say it's okay. Some hurts aren't wiped away by an apology alone. But there's no need to keep carrying it around forever either. After Xinyao left, Su Zhaoxi took my hand again. Her palm was a little cool. I whispered, "Were you scared just now?" "Yes, I was," she said honestly. "She's pretty. She has good bearing. And she was with you for 7 years. If I were to say I wasn't scared, it would make me look like a floor tile." I laughed. "What about a floor tile? The tiles are at least stable," she said. "But I'd rather be a window, able to breathe." I squeezed her hand. "What you said just now was really good." "Nonsense." She lifted her chin. "I've practiced at home." I was stunned. "Practiced?" Her ears turned red. But she held it together. "Of course. I'm an ordinary person too. If I meet my boyfriend's ex, should I just wing it on the spot without saying a couple of prepared lines?" I laughed until my shoulders trembled. She glared at me. "Don't laugh." "Not laughing at you." I pulled her a little closer. "I think you're adorable." Her face reddened further. "Cheng Yen, you flatter people more and more impulsively these days. Be careful, you'll lose points." "I'm serious." She paused for a moment and looked at me. The shadows of the plane trees by the street swayed, and sunlight leaked through the gaps in the leaves onto her face. She suddenly reached out and adjusted my collar. "And you listen to what's real too," she said. "Whether old acquaintances come or not in the future isn't important. What's important is that you don't leave the person you have now out in the cold." I looked down at her. "I won't." She gave a soft grunt of agreement. We kept walking. Behind us, the real estate agency whispered greetings to customers. And at the crossroads the red light turned green, and the crowd surged across the crosswalk. I'm holding Su Zhaoxi. And suddenly I feel that life doesn't have to turn old stories into a grand ending. Sometimes it's just handing you an invitation. You don't take it. And then you continue to look at a well-lit little house. Gao Che heard that Su Zhaoxi and I were together. And his first reaction wasn't blessings, but a voice message lasting 10 seconds. Inside were nothing but laughter. I reply, "Be sensible." He sent again. "No. Cheng Yen, has your iron tree finally bloomed? I thought you'd be a potted plant for life in that old soil of Xinyao." I looked at the screen, at a loss for words. Gao Che invited us to dinner Friday night, saying he wanted to meet the gardener who saves potted plants. Su Zhaoxi saw the title and was silent for 3 seconds. "Your friend talks a lot. He isn't a bad person. Gossiping lips and being a bad person aren't in conflict. Nor are they mutually exclusive." She handed me back my phone. "Go ahead. I'd like to see your friend too." The dinner gathering was set at a barbecue restaurant. Gao Che came with his girlfriend Su Tang. Su Tang is an elementary school teacher. When she smiles she is gentle. And the first sentence she speaks dismantles Gao Che. He tried on 3 outfits this afternoon and said he wanted to shake the scene as a member of the bride's family. Gao Che immediately covered his face. "Why do you say everything?" Su Zhaoxi smiles. "It's okay. I'm accepting the inspection as a candidate for the groom's family." I almost choked on the tea. Gao Che's eyes lit up. "Impressive, sister-in-law. With this eloquence. After quarreling, will Cheng Yen have no way out?" Su Zhaoxi thought seriously for a moment. "Let's see how he behaves. If his performance is good, I can leave him a small way out." Su Tang laughed and laid on the table. That meal was eaten with ease. Gao Che is one of the few people who know all my past with Xinyao. He had advised me before, and cursed at me, saying I have a smart face and my romance is like a phone that got wet. I defended Xinyao at the time, saying she is just very devoted to loyalty. Gao Che said in anger, "What she cares about is other people's affection. What she's talking about is your righteousness." I didn't take that sentence in at the time. Now I understand it. In the middle of eating, Gao he went to get a drink, and when he came back his expression was a bit odd. "Cheng Yen." He sat down and lowered his voice. "Xinyao and Lin Wenzhou are also here. At the next table." The hand that was picking meat paused for a moment. Su Zhaoxi glances at me and says, skillful. Gao Chei's expression is complicated. Not just them, but Lin Wenzhou's startup partners as well. It looks like a celebration. But the atmosphere doesn't feel right. I nod. We'll eat what we have. Su Zhaoxi picks up a skewer of grilled bean curd skin and places it on my plate. Yes. While it's hot. Or it'll harden like life. I laughed. But the next table over quickly erupted in dispute. The barbecue restaurant wasn't big, and in the middle there was only a half-person high wooden lattice. Lin Wenzhou's voice couldn't be suppressed. This project was supposed to be secured from the start. You didn't fight for it. Xinyao spoke very softly. The evaluation isn't decided by me alone. You've been in the group for so long, and you can't move even this little resource. Lin Wenzhou sneered. Xinya. Didn't you say back then that as long as I returned to the country, you would help me stand firm? I frowned slightly. Su Zhaoxi put down the chopsticks. Su Tang whispered. This sounds uncomfortable to hear. Next door someone advised. Listen, Zhou. Say a little less. Lin Wenzhou sounded as if he had drunk. His voice heavier. Should I say less? Our company's capital chain is about to break now. And she, of all people, is flirting with her ex-boyfriend at the meeting. If Cheng Yan doesn't approve my plan, does she have any other options at all? The atmosphere at the table instantly cooled. Gao Chei's face changed color, and he stood up to go over. I held him back. Don't. He reported you. Let him say it. But Xinyao suddenly raised her voice. Lin Wenzhou. Enough. This is a tone I rarely hear. She used to be soft in front of Lin Wenzhou. As if a bit of harsh words would crush him. Now that voice carries weariness that has been pressed down for a long time. The project didn't pass because your plan isn't good enough. Xinyao said. Cheng Yan didn't target you. You just can't come up with results. The next room fell quiet. Lin Wenzhou seemed to hardly believe it. You are speaking for him. I am speaking for the facts. Xinyao said. Also, I'm not your resource bag. Your startup failed. I don't owe you anything. With that sentence spoken, the bamboo skewer in my hand stopped. Su Zhaoxi glanced softly at me. Lin Wenzhou sneered. Now pretending to be sober. Who chased to London back then and said they would stay with me forever. Xinyao. Don't forget. You gave up the process Inc. The process Yan. Might be a name or phrase. Maybe guarantee. For me. Now you regret it and want to push the blame onto me. Xinyao's voice trembled. What I regret is not helping you, but taking others' kindness toward me for granted. Over on the wooden lattice, there was the sound of a chair being dragged. I didn't move. Because this is Xinyao's own battlefield. She finally begins to face the consequences of her choices, rather than pulling me in to cushion the fall. A few seconds later, Xinyao walked out from the next room. When she saw us, she froze entirely. Her eyes were red, and she was still holding the bag, clearly not expecting to meet me here. Gao Chei felt so awkward that he wanted to bury himself in the oven. Su Zhaoxi sat beside me, not letting go of my hand. Xinyao looked at me, her lips moving, and in the end she only said, "Sorry to bother you." She turned to leave. Lin Wenzhou chased after her and grabbed her arm. "Where are you going?" Xinyao shrugged him off. "Go home." Lin Wenzhou's face turned sour. "If you leave today, don't come back." Hearing those words, several tables in the barbecue restaurant looked over. Xinyao stood in place, then suddenly smiled. "Lin Wenzhou," she said. "I once missed someone who was willing to wait for me because of you. Now I won't miss myself for you again." Lin Wenzhou froze. Xinyao didn't look at him again, pushed the door and walked into the night. A string of wind chimes rang on the door, clear and short. I sat still, and my heart felt no imagined tremor. I only thought this barbecue was a little salty, perhaps because I sprinkled too much cumin. Su Zhaoxi held my hand. "Do you want to go out and take a look?" I shook my head. "No need. Really. I looked at her. She just walked out on her own a moment ago. Su Zhaoxi nodded, picked up the chopsticks again. "Then let's eat." Gao Chei sat back down, lowering his voice. "Cheng Yan, I'm starting to admire Xinyao." Su Tang glared at him. "Mind your own business." Gao Chei immediately shut up. I looked down and smiled a little. Lin Wenzhou stood in the doorway, glancing at us sourly, and finally returned to the neighbor's side. That table soon dispersed, the chairs dragged and jangling. On the way home at night, Su Zhaoxi asked me. Do you feel a little uncomfortable in your heart? I thought for a long time. There is one point. I said. Not because she left, but because we realized that back then, we all had a chance to wake up earlier. Su Zhaoxi hummed. People sometimes have to crash into a south wall to know that the wall isn't a backdrop. I smiled. Why aren't you snapping at me today? You seem a little sad. Let's save it for later. Neon lights recede outside the car window. I held her hand. My thumb lightly stroking the back of her hand. She didn't pull away. She tightened her grip around mine instead. That night, I dreamt of the south gate of the university. Shenyao didn't come. And the milk tea grew cold in my hand. I was about to continue waiting when someone patted me on the shoulder from behind. I turned around. Su Zhaoxi stood under the ginkgo tree, holding 2 popsicles in her hand. She said, "Let's go." I don't want the bitter melon-flavored one. When I woke up, it was already daylight. There's a good morning message from Su Zhaoxi on my phone. Don't forget to return my mom's lunchbox today. If you forget again, your boyfriend's credit will be downgraded. I sit up with a smile. Sunlight pours over the edge of the bed outside the window, and the old dreams scatter completely. When I decided to propose to Su Zhaoxi, I first made a crude mistake. I dug out the ring I bought for Shenyao back then. The ring box was still deep in the drawer, covered in a fine layer of gray velvet dust. The moment it was opened, the diamond flashed under the light. Like an ill-timed wink from the old days. I stared at it for a long time, then closed the box. No. Not because it is expensive, nor because it is regrettable, but because from the very beginning it did not belong to Su Zhaoxi. Love cannot be cleared out of inventory, especially not old gifts that were never given. Repackaged as new sincerity, I sent the ring to be recycled. The shop assistant looked at the certificate and the receipt and gave me a price. The price was not much lower than what I bought it for initially. I thought to myself, that's quite reasonable. Impulsive consumption and misdirected affection are alike, both are not well preserved in the second-hand market. After getting the money, I didn't rush to buy a new ring. Su Zhaoxi isn't someone who likes to be knocked over by standard procedures. Flowers. Candlelight. Kneeling on one knee if the setting isn't right. She might first ask whether the fire exit is blocked. I spent 2 weeks thinking of a way. In the end, it was my mom who gave the suggestion. She sits on the balcony sunning herself, shelling edamame in her hand. Don't go too fancy. To she's child. What matters is whether you've taken her seriously, not whether you can set up candles. My dad adds from the side. Don't set up candles. It's dangerous. My mom glowers at him. You only know danger. My dad feels wronged. Last time for your birthday I lit candles. Almost burned the tablecloth. I decided to listen to 2 veteran marriage practitioners. The engagement location was set at the old staff residential compound. Half of that building had already been demolished, and the remaining 2 old buildings hadn't moved yet. The loquat trees in the courtyard were still there, their branches and leaves thinner than in my memory, but at the end of spring they bore fruit, hanging yellowish between the leaves. I had already informed Aunt Bai and my parents in advance, and also asked Gao Che to help with the setup. Gao Che listened to the plan and fell silent for a long time. If you want to propose, just propose. Why do you want me to hang lanterns in the old courtyard? Do I look like an electrician kidnapped by love? I said. You may refuse. That's not acceptable. He said immediately. I want to watch the fun. Su Tang is responsible for purchasing string lights and flowers. She is more reliable than Gao Che. Made a list, and even prepared spare batteries. On Saturday evening, I lied to Su Zhaoxi that my mom wanted to go to the old residential compound to take a look. She did not suspect and even brought her camera, saying she could take a few photos for the 2 aunts. The car turned into the alley, and the sun was setting on the old wall. The wall was peeling, and creeping fig pushed out from the cracks, like green stubble grown over time. Su Zhaoxi got off the car, her steps slowing down. It hasn't been demolished here yet. Almost there, I said. So I came to take a look. She looked at the courtyard gate, her gaze distant. When I was a child I fell here. My knee skinned. And you laughed at me. I didn't. You did. After you laughed you put a bandage on me, but you put it on backwards. I touched my nose. No need for the details to be so clear. She smiled and walked inside. There was no one in the yard, only the sound of wind blowing through the leaves. When she reached the loquat tree, the string lights suddenly lit up. The warm yellow light wrapped around the trunk, gradually reaching the branches. Su Zhaoxi paused. My dad, mom, and Aunt Bai walked out from the hallway, and Gao Che and Su Tang also poked their heads out. Gao Che was still holding the tape he hadn't had time to stash, his expression preoccupied. Su Zhaoxi turned to look at me, her eyes widening gradually. Cheng Yan. I walked up to her, my palms sweating. All prepared words were suddenly rendered superfluous as they hovered at the edge of my lips. I watched her, saw the wind-tousled strands by her ear, the light in her eyes. And the girl who once chased after me downstairs in the old building calling me brother. I take a ring box out of my pocket. This ring is newly bought, not large, with a simple design. A line of small text is inscribed inside the setting. Don't wait until it becomes old furniture. Gao Che said carving this line is too unromantic. Like a furniture store advertisement. I insist. Because Su Zhaoxi will understand. I knelt on one knee. The brick ground in the yard was a bit hard. The kneecap rubbing against it nearly unsteady my expression. Su Zhaoxi's eyes reddened. But he hadn't forgotten to mock. Go slower with the kneeling. There are stones on the ground. I laughed, the tension easing by more than half. Su Zhaoxi. I looked up at her. I've missed people before. And I've made you wait too. Thank you for not treating me as junk to be recycled. And not rushing to reshape me into what you want. Her tears fell. I may not dare to promise that every future day will be romantic. But I promise that if you're sad you won't have to pretend nothing's wrong. If you're hungry you won't have to shoulder it alone. When you want to leave I'll walk with you. When you want to stay I'll move a chair for you. I opened the ring box. Are you willing to live the days with me in a house where you can breathe? Su Zhaoxi covered her mouth, tears dripping through her fingers. Aunt Bai was crying on the side. And my mom's eyes were red too. My dad handed a tissue in the wrong direction. To Gao Che. Gao Che took it to wipe his own eyes. Su Tang muttered softly that he had no backbone. Su Zhaoxi stretched out her hand. Voice choked. Willing. I slipped the ring onto her finger. The size fits perfectly. She looked at the line of characters on the inside of the ring, crying and laughing at once. Cheng Yan. Proposing with this is really like successfully refinishing second-hand furniture. Are you satisfied? She bent down and hugged me. Satisfied. I stood up and hugged her tightly. The light on the loquat tree swayed gently, and the windows of the old building reflected the evening glow. We ran here when we were small, argued, discarded popsicles, and also missed many years. Now, after wandering in circles, we're finally standing again under the same tree. Aunt Bai walked over and patted my back. Xiao Yan. Treat her well. Of course. My mom held Su Zhaoxi's hand. In a soft voice. From now on, we will be one family. Su Zhaoxi's eyes shed tears again. Auntie. I will treat Cheng Yan well. My dad sighed nearby. Hearing this, it sounds like she married away our son. Gao he immediately answered. Uncle, your perspective is wide open. These days, it's popular to marry in both directions. A group of people laughed. That night we had a simple celebratory meal in the old yard. A few folding tables, a few takeout dishes, and my dad insisting on bringing tomato beef brisket. The brisket still wasn't very tender. But this time no one minded. Su Zhaoxi sat beside me and stretched her hand over secretly. I hold her hand. She whispered, Cheng Yan. I didn't expect it would be here. Do you like it? Yes. She looked at the loquat tree. It's like connecting the road from my childhood. I pressed a kiss to the back of her hand. She blushed but didn't pull away. The phone vibrated in my pocket. I took it out to look. It was a message from Xinyao. I heard from Gao Che that you proposed. Congratulations. I replied. Thank you. A moment later, she sent. This time, you waited for the right person. I looked at Su Zhaoxi. She was chatting with Su Tang about the line inside the ring, smiling with eyes curved in joy. I replied to Xinyao. It wasn't waiting until. It was walking to it. After finishing, I put my phone back in my pocket. The evening breeze brushed through the old yard, and the loquat tree leaves rustled, holding Su Zhaoxi's hand. I finally felt clearly that the past was not wasted for nothing. It had just taken a very long detour to bring me to this person. The wedding is set for October. Su Zhaoxi says autumn is nice. The weather is neither hot nor cold. Cosmetics don't easily smudge. And people are not easily driven to call off engagements because of sweating. I say, You've thought it through very thoroughly. She nods. After all, I don't want to be unrecognizable on my wedding day because the foundation oxidizes. Wedding preparations are more tedious than I imagined. Hotels, invitations, seating, photography, wedding favors. Each item can turn people into spreadsheet monsters. Su Xiaoxi is busy with work. I'm busy too. We agreed that whoever has time will push forward. We can't turn the wedding into one-sided overtime. Gao Che volunteered to be the best man, arguing that he witnessed my evolution from an old clay pot plant into a qualified family member, and must stand on site to supervise. Su Tang served as a bridesmaid, tasked with keeping Gao Che's mouth in check. My mom has recovered well and started worrying about the menu. She insists on having fish, saying there will be surpluses year after year. My dad insists that tomato beef brisket must be on the menu too, saying it is the spiritual totem of our family. Su Xiaoxi listened, then asked the hotel manager gravely, "Can the beef brisket be stewed until it's tender?" The manager was stunned. "Yes, it can. My dad was injured. You don't trust me." Su Xiaoxi hurried to soothe him. "Uncle, your brisket has some chewiness. Perfect for training the wedding guests' willpower." The whole family burst into laughter. 1 week before the wedding, Xinyao sent me a very long message. She said she and Lin Wenzhou had cancelled their engagement. Lin Wenzhou's company could no longer hold on. Investors pulled out, and he blamed everyone for the failure, especially her. She finally understood that what she had pursued back then wasn't love, but an unfinished obsession. She said she planned to transfer to a subsidiary in another city and start over. The last sentence is, "I won't be attending your wedding. It's not that I won't bless you. I'm afraid I might lose my composure. Cheng Yan, may you both be well." I finished reading and handed my phone to Su Xiaoxi. She sat on the sofa, still holding the box of wedding candy in her hand. And after finishing reading, she was quiet for a while. She finally stopped. Su Xiaoxi said, "Are you sad?" I thought for a moment. "A bit emotional." She nodded. "Normal. 7 years aren't made of paper." I looked at her. "You don't mind if I'm sentimental?" She closed the box of wedding candies. "If you mind, you're the one who should say so. If you don't say it, I'll start imagining." Imagination is more expensive than reality and strains the brain. I laughed and pulled her into my arms. She rested on my shoulder, her voice softly, "Cheng Yan, I hope she can live well in the future, too." I lowered my head to look at her. "Really?" she said. "If she's doing well, she won't keep looking back at you. It saves everyone worry." I laughed out loud. "Your blessing is very practical. Marriage needs practicality." She raised her eyes. "For example, you must go fetch the suit tomorrow. Don't say you're busy and forgot again." "Yes, sir." On the wedding day, the weather was very sunny, as if to show respect. At the hotel entrance, there was a photo of the two of us. The photo was taken after the marriage proposal in the old residential compound, under a loquat tree, with the string lights still on. Su Xiaoxi smiled brightly, and when I looked at her, my eyes were filled with only her. During the reception, I kept an eye on the door. Xinyao did not come. I wasn't surprised, even breathed a sigh of relief. Some people are meant to bow out in stories, not to sit at the table and watch you toast. Before the wedding ceremony began, Su Xiaoxi was touching up her makeup in the dressing room. When I pushed the door open, she was looking down at her phone, with red rims in her eyes. "What happened?" She showed me her phone. It was a blessing from Xinyao. Only one line. "Xiaoxi, thank you for not making him wait any longer." Su Xiaoxi sniffled. "She sent it to me." I looked at those words and was momentarily at a loss for words. Su Xiaoxi hung up the phone. "Cheng Yan, I suddenly feel a bit nervous." I held her hand. "Nervous about what?" "Afraid I won't be a good wife." She smiled a little awkwardly. "I used to be very independent. Independent to the point of sometimes feeling like a single-player game. In the future, living together with another person, I'm afraid I won't know what to do." I crouched down in front of her and faced her at eye level. "I won't either," I said. "We can learn together. If we can't learn it, we'll pause and not force it through." She smiled, but tears fell. "You're getting better at talking. Trained by you." The makeup artist handed over a tissue, smiling, and said, "Groom, stop talking. If you keep going, there will be no end to fixing the makeup." Su Xiaoxi quickly tilted her head up and said, "Yes, yes." Yes. I spent money to have this face painted. I can't cry for nothing. When the ceremony began, I stood on stage and watched her walk over, her arm linked with Aunt White. She wore a simple white veil, with no exaggerated train, the veil lightly resting on her shoulders. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the banquet hall, and she stepped toward me. As if all the late arrivals, the missed opportunities, the waits once afraid to speak, had walked into the path before us. Aunt Bai handed me her hand, and her eyes reddened. "Cheng Yen," she said, with a stubborn mouth and a soft heart, "don't let her shoulder it alone." I tightens the hand of Su Zhaoxi. "I won't." The host spoke a lot, most of which I didn't catch. When it was time for the vows, I picked up the microphone, my palms slightly sweaty. Parents, friends, colleagues, and many who have witnessed our journey sit in the audience. I look at Su Zhaoxi. I used to think that waiting for someone equates to deep affection. Later I realized that truly good feelings don't keep people standing out in the wind. Su Zhaoxi's eyes reddened. "Zhaoxik. Thank you for not dragging me out of the old story. You just stand under the lamp, letting me see that there is still a road." I paused, my voice hoarse. "From now on I won't let you wait to become old furniture. If you want to be a window, we'll make the days brighter and more transparent. The food has to be hot, the talk clear. We can't sleep on quarrels. And beef shank should be braised until it falls apart." The audience laughed, my dad laughing the loudest. Su Zhaoxi took the microphone, sniffed. "Cheng Yen. I won't say pretty words either. I just want to say that in the future you don't have to always be the steady, reliable person. You can be tired. You can be troubled. You can be occasionally immature. If you can't hold on, tell me." She looked at me, her eyes bright. "I'm not here to make you keep waiting. I'm here to go home with you." At that moment, I almost couldn't hold it together. When exchanging rings, I saw her fingers trembling slightly. I pinched them gently. She looked up and smiled, tears in her eyes, but also a light. The applause begins from the audience seating. I bend down to kiss her. There is no exaggeration, no noise, only her warm breath and the heartbeat settled in my chest. At the wedding feast, my dad's tomato beef brisket finally turned into mush. He was so proud, like he had completed a national key project, telling everyone, "Today's brisket is my wedding-level performance." Gao Che drank too much and pulled me aside, saying, "Cheng Yen, you're finally not a potted plant anymore. You're a tree now, the kind that people water." Su Tang dragged him away. "Don't embarrass the plant kingdom." Su Zhaoxi leaned against me, slipping off her high heels quietly, her toes resting on my leather shoes. "Tired?" I asked. "Duh." She whispered. "Getting married is more exhausting than rushing a plan. Do you regret it?" She looked up at me. "Regret not wearing flats sooner." I laughed and nudged her shoes under the chair, shielding the tablecloth for her. She leaned in, her forehead brushing gently against my shoulder. The lobby lights were gentle, and cups clinking. Laughter and blessings blended together. There were many people coming and going at the doorway. But I didn't look anymore. I know that everyone who was supposed to come today has come. Those who were supposed to leave have also gone far away. Married life isn't as earth-shattering as in TV dramas. More often, it is made up of many small things. Who washes the dishes? Who takes out the trash? Who forgets to buy tissue? Who discovers in the middle of the night that there's only half a lemon left in the fridge and a box of expired yogurt? The day Su Zhaoxi moved in, she brought 6 boxes. I thought she didn't have many things, until she brought out the 3rd box of design books. And I realized I was naive, as if I had never seen a client request revisions. "Do all these belong in the study?" I asked. "More precisely, our study." She patted the boxes. "That row of old financial magazines of yours can retire." I argued my case. "That's data." She pulled out a yellowed covered book, an industry report from 2017. "Nostalgic data." She looked at me. "Cheng Yen, the first lesson about marriage. Don't call trash sentiment." I cleaned up 2 big bags obediently. She wasn't just clearing mine either. There were more of her own old things: the college notes, project drafts, the broken desk lamp she forgot to throw away during the move. She sat on the carpet, going through them one by one. When she saw a postcard from Zhou Yu by years ago, her motion paused for a moment. I pretended not to notice from the side. But she, old things. I took it and looked at it briefly. The postcard had only a few lines of blessing. In a restrained tone, "Do you want to keep it?" I asked. She thought for a moment. "I won't keep it. It can be kept." I said. "That is also a part of your past." She looked up at me and smiled. "In the past it could be in your head. Not necessarily occupying a drawer. Drawers are precious. Leave them to the socks." She tucked the postcard into the waste paper bin. I also pulled out the leaking cup of Xinyao. Su Zhaoxi saw it, raised an eyebrow. "Oh, archaeological finds. I feel a bit embarrassed. I forgot before." She took the cup, glanced at its crooked, warped body. "It's quite abstract when burned. It does leak. Then throw it away." She placed the cup into the trash bag, her movement light, not because of her, but because it has no use anymore. I nodded. That night we cleaned up very late. The living room was full of cardboard boxes. Su Zhaoxi was exhausted and collapsed on the sofa, her hair scattered. And next to her feet was a roll of tape that hadn't been opened. I went to the kitchen to cook noodles. She called from outside. "Put less salt." I nod. "Got it. More greens." "I know. Don't overcook the noodles into mush." I lean forward. "Teacher Su, would you like to personally guide us?" She closes her eyes. "No. I'll supervise remotely. After the noodles are ready, we sit by the coffee table and eat. The room is as messy as if a hamster had just robbed it, but the lighting is warm, and the curtains are newly replaced in a light beige." She takes a mouthful of noodles, her eyes brightening a little. "Not bad. Can I be promoted to regular and renewed? Married employees don't have a probation period," she said, "but there is an annual evaluation." I laughed. "What are the evaluation criteria?" She thought for a moment. "Food hot. Words true. Don't drift off. That's all. That's all." She looked up. "Don't be too greedy in life. Many big problems come from neglected small things." I nod. The first argument after marriage came in a very ordinary way. The cause was that I worked overtime for 3 straight days and forgot that we had planned to go celebrate her mother's birthday. She and raise her voice on the phone, only said she knew, and then hung up. When I arrived at the restaurant, the cake had already been cut. Auntie Bai smiled and said it's alright. Work comes first. Su Zhaoxi sat to the side, with a smile on his face, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. On the way home, she didn't say a word the whole time. After entering, she changed her shoes, set her bag down, and then looked at me. "Cheng Yan, I'm angry." She spoke very calmly. I immediately apologized. "Sorry, I forgot. I know you're busy, and I know the project is stuck," she said. "But you could have told me in advance instead of making me explain for you." My heart tightened. This sentence is like a mirror, reflecting my old wounds that used to be most familiar to me. I used to explain for Xinyao as well. Busy for her, troubled for her, having no choice for her. After a long time, the grievance became my own. "It's my fault," I said. "I shouldn't have let you bear my broken promise." Her eyes reddened. "I'm not asking you to be perfect every time. I'm just afraid that one day, I will become the person who waits at the back." I walked over, wanting to hug her, and hesitated. "Can I hug you?" She looked at me, silent for a few seconds, then nodded. I held her, feeling her body slowly relax. "No more of that," I said. "From now on I'll be busy. I'll tell you in advance. I won't promise what I can't keep. If I promise, I'll put it on the schedule." She is pressed into my arms. "You better say what you mean and do what you say." Also, she sniffles. "For my mom's birthday gift. You make up for it yourself. Make up for it. Can't be perfunctory. Make sure not to be perfunctory." She looked up, eyes red. "Cheng Yan, we arguing can't rely on who can reason better to win. Even if you win, no one will award a certificate." I looked down at her. "Then rely on what?" She said. "Whoever first remembers we are on the same side." I kept that sentence in mind for a long time. Later I bought Aunt Bai a massage chair. Aunt Bai said it was wasteful, but after sitting on it she didn't get up for 10 minutes. My dad tried it, almost fell asleep. And when he came back he hinted that Mom's birthday was coming soon. Days kept moving forward like this. We argue. We laugh. We quarrel for 3 minutes over who threw the socks into the wrong laundry basket. And we also squat in the kitchen late at night waiting for a pot of white fungus soup to set. Xinyao occasionally appears in posts from mutual friends. She moved to another city, cut her hair even shorter, And later I heard she did well. Lin Wonjo went south, started a business and failed. And by the time the story reached me it had drifted far away. Like a side dish on someone else's table. I haven't contacted Xinyao again. One day I was tidying my inbox and came across an old email she sent a long time ago. The attachment had photos from our university trip. I looked at 2 of them, smiled, and filed them into a folder called Past. Su Zhaoxi wrapped her arms around me from behind. What are you looking at? Old photos. Are they pretty? Pretty stupid. She leaned over to look, pointing at the photo of me, laughing. This hairstyle of yours is like you were just chased by a chicken. I closed the mailbox, turned around and hugged her. Do you want it still? She looked at me seriously. Yes. This version is okay for now. Though sometimes it also looks like being chased by a chicken. I kiss her forehead with a smile. The evening breeze outside the window moves the curtains. And the kitchen smells of soup. On the dining table there are 2 bowls and chopsticks. And the pot hose on the balcony is thriving. Coming home isn't really such a big thing after all. Someone scolds you for forgetting to buy tissues. And when you get home late from overtime, they leave a light on for you. In the autumn of the 2nd year after the marriage, the old residential compound was finally going to be demolished. The neighborhood committee posted a notice. And before the relocation team entered, they allowed the old residents to go back and have a look. Aunt Bai invited my mother to go together. And Su Zhaoxi took half a day off as well. When we arrived, there were already quite a few people gathered at the gate of the courtyard. The old neighbors stood under the trees chatting about which family's child was working where, and which family's grandson had just started elementary school. Time pushed everyone away, then briefly drew them back together under a loquat tree. The loquat tree is still there, but many of its leaves have fallen. Zhuoxia Station stood under the tree and touched the trunk. This tree has seen a lot. It's seen you trick me into eating bitter melon ice cream. And it's seen you propose. I said. It should be quite pleased. Pleased about what? Witnessing an immature boy grow into a qualified husband. She glances at me. You're quite optimistic about your own position. I smile and hold her hand. My mom and Aunt Bai are taking photos on the side. The 2 old ladies insist on striking the same pose. My dad is in charge of the camera, taking 8 shots. 7 are blurry. And 1 turns the person into a guardroom promotional photo. Su Zhaoxi couldn't bear it any longer. Took the phone. Uncle, your photography technique has a very vintage feel. My dad is stubborn. Blurry beauty. It's too hazy. If it gets any hazier, it will vanish. Everyone laughs. We took a walk around the yard. At the doorway where I used to live, the faded mailbox is still on the wall. The stairs light had long since broken. And the railing was covered in dust. I stood on the 2nd floor platform, thinking of Su Zhaoxi chasing me when we were kids, thinking of how I found her annoying, thinking of how stubborn she was after she scraped her knee and still refused to cry. Many years later, she had grown into a stubborn yet bright adult, handing my dad a steamed bun in the hospital corridor, asking me in the car if I was awake, and taking my ring from beneath the old tree. I have wandered so many detours. And in the end I realized that the person waiting for me isn't someone who has been standing still all along. She has been hurt too, moved forward, and kept her life well. She did not stop me into a statue. When I finally reached the right crossroads, she was willing to turn and glance back at me. That is what makes it precious. When leaving the old building, someone at the door called my name. Cheng Yan. I turned back. Xinyao stood outside the courtyard, wearing a dark brown trench coat. Her hair cut even shorter than last time, making her look much more capable. She held a small bouquet of white chrysanthemums in her hand. Not for an epitaph, but more like coming to bid farewell to a period of youth. I was a little surprised. Su Zhaoxi also saw her, calm in expression. Xinyao came over, first looking at Su Zhaoxi. Long time no see. Su Zhaoxi nodded. Long time no see. Xinyao smiled. A smile without the former forcedness. I heard Gao Che say the old courtyard is going to be torn down. I happened to be back on a business trip and wanted to come take a look. I didn't expect to run into you guys. I asked, have you lived nearby too? No. She looked at the loquat tree. But in college, I came here to look for you once. I was stunned. Xinyao lowered her head, as if thinking of something long past. That day your mother fell ill. You didn't attend the club activity. I initially wanted to see you. And when I reached the door I saw a little girl downstairs waiting for you, holding an ice pop. After you came downstairs, she handed you the one you didn't like. And you actually ate it. Su Zhaoxi blinked. Bitter melon taste. Shen Yao smiled. It should be. Your face turned green after you finished eating. I was silent. Su Zhaoxi forced a smile, his shoulders trembling with suppressed laughter. Shen Yao looked at us softly. At that time I knew someone who waited for you very seriously. It's just that I was too proud then. Thinking you would keep looking at me. The wind blew through the yard, and the dead leaves rolled on the ground twice. I didn't say a word. Shen Yao placed the white chrysanthemum by the wall. I'm going to Chengdu next month. In charge of a new project. I might stay for a long time. That's good. Well, pretty good. She looked up at me. Cheng Yan. I figured something out later. Not everyone who looks back should be forgiven. And not every missed opportunity deserves a fresh start. Some people teach you to endure pain. Some teach you to go home. I think I'm somewhere in the former. She spoke very calmly. I watched her, finally able to treat her as just an ordinary old friend, rather than the wound on my chest that kept scabbing over. Wish you all the best, I said. Shen Yao's eyes reddened slightly, but she smiled and nodded. I also wish you all the best. She turned and walked away, her silhouette fading at the alley entrance. This time, I had no urge to chase after her at all. Su Zhaoxi gently squeezed my hand. What do you feel? I thought for a moment. Like closing a window that hasn't been used for a long time. Will it feel stuffy? No. I looked at her. Because there are new windows at home. Her face tinged with red. Cheng Yan. Your down-to-earth pickup lines are getting more natural. Further studies after marriage. She laughed and leaned in. The relocation team began to count the courtyard. And the old neighbors left one after another. My mom and Aunt Bai walked at the front, discussing what to eat tonight. Aunt Bai said she wanted fish. And my dad immediately said he could show off a skill. Su Zhaoxi whispered to me. Is your dad's fish steady now? I said. More stable than brisket. Not bad. As we walked out of the hospital, I glanced back. That loquat tree stood in the sunset, its leaves rustling softly in the wind. It had witnessed many waitings, many missings, and even a delayed marriage proposal. A few years later, perhaps this place will become a new neighborhood, new shops, new corner cafes. No one will know that a boy once tricked young girls here into eating bitter melon ice cream. And no one will know that a man here finally learned to love someone. It doesn't matter. What matters is not that the old place stays forever, but that we took away what should be taken. On the way home, Su Zhaoxi leaned on the front passenger seat, flipping through the photos she just took. When she turned to my dad's blurred photo, she laughed so hard. This one has to stay. It's too artistic. Are you sure you're not feeling the accident? Art and accidents are only one step apart. She sent the photo to the family group. Let uncle also appreciate his own talent. The group chat exploded in no time. My dad sent a smug expression. My mom sent 3 question marks. Aunt Bai sent a voice message with a laugh. In the car, all you could hear was Su Zhaoxi's laughter, clear, bright, vivid, making the evening's traffic feel not so annoying. When the red light is on, I turn my head to look at her. She feels my gaze. Looks up. What are you looking at? Looking for the person who truly waits for me. She pauses, and her ears slowly flush. Don't come near. She tucked her phone onto her leg. I haven't been waiting for you all along. I've waited for popsicles, for buses, for the client's payment. But I haven't just stood stupidly waiting for a slow-witted Cheng Yan. I smiled. So what about now? She reached out and gripped my fingers. Not waiting anymore, she said. Let's go together now. The red light flickers green. The traffic moves forward. I held her hand and stepped on the gas. The city lights lit up one by one. The intersection ahead buzzed with voices, and the smell of fireworks spilled from the small shops by the street. I used to think that love was chasing after a silhouette until exhaustion. Later I realized that love is someone willing to slow down by your side and spend every ordinary evening with you. She chased after her white moon light and went abroad the year I married the person who truly waited for me. Not to win anyone, because I finally understood that the people truly worth pursuing won't let you stand in place forever.